divine and mysterious immortality. I start my cultivation by adding points as a butcher. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401, Binding, Rune. Quiet. The first impression Wei Hong got after stepping out of the market was quiet. Unlike the lively scene before, there were suddenly fewer cultivators entering and leaving the market. All of this was due to the group of robbers outside the market. Many casual cultivators dared not easily leave the market, fearing that they would be killed. If it were not for testing the power of the formation, Wei Hong would definitely not come out in a short time. Fortunately, he would not leave the vicinity of the market this time. If any unexpected situation occurred, he could rush back to the market as quickly as possible. Let's see if there are any wild animals nearby. Wei Hong was cautious. He walked around the market and began to look for traces of small animals or wild animals. Hey, I'm lucky. After a while, Wei Hong chuckled. Because he had seen a wild dog-sized beast covered with spikes and looked like a mouse chewing an unknown root under a tree not far away. Wei Hong was no longer a novice in cultivating immortals. He knew that this beast was called a ground rat, which was an animal similar to a mouse, but much larger than a mouse and full of aggression. When its life was seriously threatened, all the spikes on its body would shoot out towards the enemy. Ordinary beasts might not be able to withstand its spike attacks, so this ground rat was also considered a ferocious beast. Since I have met it, it's you. Wei Hong looked at the ground rat in front of him and no longer hesitated. He just tapped his feet lightly, and the whole person shot out like a sharp arrow. Gee. The ground rat just realized the danger and wanted to run away. But Wei Hong would never give him this opportunity. He punched it in the head before the ground rat could react. Although Wei Hong was no longer an innate warrior, with the strong foundation he had laid before, it was not a big deal to deal with a mere ordinary beast. He easily knocked the ground rat unconscious without much effort. Hey, don't be afraid. I'll let you go after I finish the experiment. Wei Hong didn't care whether the unconscious groundhog could hear him or not. He just explained to himself. Then he looked around and found that no one was nearby. He was relieved. Let's start. We can't delay it for too long. Wei Hong began to set up the formation quickly. He still used the pieces of spirit iron with runes engraved on them. He arranged them around the groundhog in specific positions. Because there were no formation flags, he could only set up a simple water mist formation this time. And he deliberately controlled the range area, and selected the 10-foot range centered on the groundhog as the formation area. After the arrangement, he put the spirit stone that he had used once on the center of the formation. Finally, he made a hand gesture. Start. Wei Hong shouted. He secretly urged the spiritual energy and activated the formation. Buzz. Just like when he rented a house before, an invisible wave flashed by. Several pieces of spiritual iron used for the formation began to emit white light, and under Wei Hong's urging, the white light began to spread rapidly. After a while, a formation area of about 10 feet in size appeared around the groundhog and surrounded it. A layer of white light shield formed at the edge of the formation area, firmly covering the groundhog. It's done, let's try the defensive effect first. Seeing that the formation was completed, Wei Hong immediately threw a piece of gravel at the unconscious groundhog. Bang! The gravel hit the groundhog's forehead accurately, not too light or too heavy, but just enough to wake the groundhog up. Gee. The unconscious groundhog seemed to be startled, and it screamed and turned over, and kept looking around with a pair of vigilant eyes, looking quite frightened. However, because of the obstruction of the formation, it did not see Wei Hong, who was just 10 feet away. Gee. Seeing that no one was around, the groundhog's eyes rolled, and its two thick hind legs kicked the ground hard, turning into a black shadow and trying to escape from here. Bang! Unfortunately, the next moment it hit an invisible wall and bounced back hard. The confused groundhog became even more panicked, but did not dare to move around. Well, I can't see anything about the defense for the time being, but at least it's not very weak. Seeing that the white light shield did not shake at all after the groundhog hit the white light shield, Wei Hong nodded slightly with satisfaction. Although the upper limit of the defense of the water mist array is still unclear, it doesn't seem to be very bad. Try the psychedelic effect again. Wei Hong's mind moved, and his hands immediately changed the magic formula. A layer of light white mist immediately spread inside the array, and the mist soon filled the entire array area. The groundhog, who did not dare to move, saw the mist appear, and his face was immediately confused. The next moment, its eyes seemed to become a little blurry. Then its tense body relaxed, and it began to walk slowly inside the formation. However, this ground rat did not want to leave the formation area, but walked around in circles, round and round, as if it did not know how to get tired. If it had not seen the confusion in its eyes, Wei Hong would not have known that the psychedelic effect of the water mist formation had taken effect. Hey, this psychedelic effect seems to be quite good. Wei Hong's eyes lit up. He naturally could not experience the power of the psychedelic effect when he was not on the formation, but he knew that the effect was not bad by looking at the performance of the ground rat. Of course, the power of the psychedelic effect will also vary depending on the target. Apart from anything else, as long as the cultivator is at the same level as Wei Hong, the psychedelic effect of this primary formation often does not have much effect. Next, try the means of binding. Wei Hong's gesture suddenly changed. In an instant, the ground rat that was walking in circles was tied up by several chains formed by white mist. Bang! The groundhog tied up by the white chain couldn't move at all and fell to the ground. Jijijiji. The bound groundhog's eyes regained clarity, but his expression became extremely frightened. It was as if it had encountered some great terror and was trembling with fear. Wei Hong didn't intend to hurt it, but just tested all the effects of the water mist formation on the groundhog. In the end, he found that although the water mist formation was only a primary formation of the first grade, the effect of the formation made him very satisfied. Haha, not bad, not bad. This water mist formation may be much worse than the fire dragon formation in terms of attack, but the other methods are quite useful, which is much better than the simple attack formation. Wei Hong was in a good mood, and at the same time, he felt that his decision to buy the water mist formation was very wise. Moreover, after 2 experiments and practices, Wei Hong was much more familiar with the means and formation techniques of the water mist formation. Next, he could boldly accept the formation mission in the General Affairs Hall. Chapter 402 General Affairs Hall, Formation Mission. The next day, Wei Hong disguised himself as usual before going to the General Affairs Hall. He didn't want his identity as a formation master to be exposed. Once people knew that he was not only a talisman master, but also an extremely rare formation master, it would definitely attract all kinds of attention and jealousy, which was not in line with Wei Hong's principle of keeping a low profile. This time he disguised himself as a middle-aged monk, with a slightly burly figure, a square face, and thick beards on both sides of his cheeks, which looked a bit majestic. At the same time, he named himself Guan Yu this time, which seemed both casual and simple. After arriving at the General Affairs Hall, Wei Hong went straight to the huge jade disc that displayed the tasks. The jade disc kept refreshing rows of tasks, for example, hiring people to mine. For example, hiring people to repair the formation. For example, hiring people to draw talismans for him. And so on and so forth. All kinds of tasks, both numerous and complicated. Wei Hong completely ignored the others and focused only on the tasks related to the formation. Soon, he locked on the target he wanted to find. Then he walked directly to the J table next to him and said directly, "Fellow Taoist, I want to accept the task number C307 and the task number C225. Please register. If you want to accept a task in the General Affairs Hall, you must first register and then get the token." In many cases, the General Affairs Hall only recognizes tokens and not people, so keeping the task tokens safe is the most important thing. The young man sitting behind the jade table responded without raising his head, "Number C307 and number C225, right? Wait a minute, I'll find them." After a while, the young man who was originally a little indifferent looked up at Wei Hong with a little surprise. "What is your name, fellow Taoist? Are you a formation master?" He just checked the 2 tasks that Wei Hong asked to accept, both of which were related to formations. Task number C307 requires the arrangement of a first-level inferior water mist formation, and the time limit is to complete it within 2 days. Task number C225 requires the repair of a first-level inferior water mist formation, and the time limit is to complete it within 1 day. In addition, the rewards for these 2 tasks are 20 and 15 spirit stones respectively. These 2 tasks are not only related to formations, but also require proficiency in water mist formations. Unfortunately, This kind of formation task is often posted in the General Affairs Hall for 10 days or half a month without anyone taking it up, so the young man in charge of registration seemed a little surprised. Wei Hong nodded lightly. I am Guan Yu, indeed a formation master. As soon as this was said, the young man's attitude immediately improved a lot. Haha, it turns out to be fellow Taoist Guan. Fellow Taoist Guan, please don't blame me, it's like this. All tasks related to formations are issued by our steward. Fellow Taoist, please follow me. Obviously, the identity of a formation master seems to be valued no matter where it is. Oh? Then fellow Taoist, please lead the way. Wei Hong was slightly surprised, but didn't say anything. He didn't expect that tasks related to formations must be issued by the steward. Following the young man, Wei Hong soon arrived at the back of the General Affairs Hall. They stopped at the door of a slightly smaller side hall at the back. The young man turned to Wei Hong and said, Fellow Taoist Guan, please wait a moment. Let me go in and report to our steward. Okay. Wei Hong just nodded lightly and stood still. Seeing this, the young man went straight into the side hall and came out again after a while. Fellow Taoist Guan, please come in. Our steward is inside. The young man greeted Wei Hong. Wei Hong nodded and then walked into the side hall. In the hall of the side hall, a silver-haired old man was sitting on a recliner, holding an unknown book and reading it with great interest, as if he didn't notice Wei Hong and the others coming in. Master Steward, fellow Taoist Guan is here. He wants to take over the tasks of Bing 307 and Bing 225. The young man came to the silver-haired old man and reported softly. Oh. The silver-haired old man looked up at Wei Hong with a frown. Fellow Taoist Guan, do you want to take on the formation mission? I wonder if you are proficient in the water mist formation. Wei Hong also frowned. He didn't expect to be questioned when he first met the steward of the General Affairs Hall. But he didn't show any strangeness, but replied calmly, Hello, Senior. I do want to take on 2 formation missions. As for the water mist formation, I dare not say how proficient I am, but I can still complete the mission. Although he didn't know why the steward of the General Affairs Hall questioned him, Wei Hong still responded neither servilely nor arrogantly. The meaning was simple. Regardless of whether I was proficient or not, I could guarantee that I could complete the mission, which was enough. The silver-haired old man naturally understood what Wei Hong meant. He narrowed his eyes and said, Oh? You are quite confident. You can accept the task, but before accepting the task, I have to declare in advance that if the task is not completed or something goes wrong, you will have to pay compensation according to the price. Can you accept this? First courtesy, then force. Obviously, this is the method of the steward of the General Affairs Hall. I don't know if he is looking at the person. He seems to be a little unconvinced about Wei Hong's identity as a formation master, so he has many doubts in his words. Moreover, without knowing Wei Hong's identity, he directly questioned Wei Hong's ability. Wei Hong frowned slightly, but nodded and said, Okay, please issue the task, Senior. The other party is the steward of the General Affairs Hall. He needs to get permission from others to accept tasks in the future. Therefore, Wei Hong can't show any dissatisfaction with the other party, so he can only suppress his dissatisfaction. I'm glad you can accept it. The silver-haired old man smiled with some unknown meaning. Since you already know, then it's easy to say, mission number C307 and C225, right? Here, these are the tokens for the 2 missions. Take them first. The silver-haired old man handed over 2 tokens, and after seeing Wei Hong take them, he continued, one is a repair mission, and the other is a layout mission. Together, they require 8 formation flags. The formation flags are here, take them. Thank you, Senior. Wei Hong took the 8 formation flags handed over by the silver-haired old man, looked at them with a little curiosity, and put them in his arms. He knew that formation flags were needed to set up the formation, but this was the first time he saw formation flags today, so he was inevitably a little curious, but he didn't mean to study them. However, it was this slightly curious look that made the silver-haired old man frown. Afterwards, the silver-haired old man reminded lightly, let fellow Taoist Guan know that although the water mist array flag is not very valuable, it is also the property of Kingayan sect. If you fail to set up the array due to your poor skills, you will have to compensate for the cost of the flag. Haha, don't worry, Senior. I naturally know this and will never joke about my reputation. Wei Hong replied neither softly nor harshly, then turned and left. Chapter 403 Half Believing and Half Doubting. General Affairs Hall. Watching Wei Hong's departing figure, the silver-haired old man frowned even more deeply. He was expressionless and fell into deep thought. After a long while, he looked up at the young man next to him. Xiao Wang, you can go with this mission. Huh? Wang Wenle was a little stunned. He was stunned for a while before reacting. Manager, what do you mean? To be honest, Wang Wenle was actually a little unsure. The next moment, the silver-haired old man nodded and said lightly, go and keep an eye on him. Watch him complete the task with your own eyes, and you will be responsible for verifying the completion results of the task. I want to see his quality. Hearing this, Wang Wenle understood that the manager wanted him to keep an eye on the formation master named Guan Yu. Obviously, his manager didn't seem to trust Guan Yu's ability. In fact, Wang Wenle had noticed it at the beginning. After all, anyone with a discerning eye could hear the doubt in the manager's words. However, although Wang Wenle had a lot of doubts in his heart, he wisely didn't ask. Don't worry, manager. I'll go and keep an eye on him myself. Wang Wenle responded with a smile, saying that he understood what he meant. The silver-haired old man said and then waved his hand. Then manager, you're busy. I'll go down first. Wang Wenle bowed and left immediately. Wei Hong didn't know that the silver-haired old man had such a conversation with Wang Wenle after he left, nor did he know that the silver-haired old man had always been quite distrustful of him. But there was one thing he understood, that is, the manager of the General Affairs Hall had doubts about him from the beginning. But Wei Hong didn't care about these, and didn't want to pay attention to other people's opinions. He just wanted to complete the task quickly and get the task reward quickly. Anyway, no one did anything to him, so why should he offend others because of a little doubt? You know, in the future, you have to go through the manager to take tasks in the General Affairs Hall. Even if someone is a little more excessive, Wei Hong will never dare to offend. Moreover, he also believed that as long as he really completed the 2 tasks, the silver-haired old man would definitely change his opinion of him. After all, the identity of a formation master was still very popular. Suppressing the thoughts in his mind, Wei Hong prepared to go to the Class B rental area. Yes, it was the Class B rental area. In fact, when he saw the task location from the task, he was a little surprised. He didn't expect that he had such a good relationship with the Class B rental area. Then he thought about it and found that this was not a coincidence. Because the explosion attack that occurred in the Class B rental area some time ago was caused by him. Others don't know about this, but Wei Hong himself knows it very well. It should be the explosion caused by the fireball symbol that caused many small courtyards in the Class B rental area to be affected, causing the water mist formations of those small courtyards to suffer varying degrees of damage, so there are so many tasks in the General Affairs Hall. Therefore, it is not a coincidence that the 2 tasks Wei Hong accepted are both in the Class B rental area. After thinking about this, he couldn't help but laugh secretly. I didn't expect that I found a job for myself, haha. Thinking about it, Wei Hong naturally didn't take this idea seriously. But just as he walked out of the main door of the General Affairs Hall, a shout suddenly came from behind him. Hey, Taoist Guan, wait a minute. Wang Wenle chased after him with a kind smile on his face. Taoist Guan, do you have anything else to say? Wei Hong looked at Wang Wenle who was chasing after him and seemed a little confused. Wang Wenle walked over with a smile on his face and introduced, haha, Taoist Guan, I'm Wang Wenle. There's something that our manager forgot to tell you just now. Regarding the tasks related to formations, we have to verify the results of each formation master's completion to prevent anyone from taking advantage of the situation. I hope Taoist Guan can understand this. As he said this, Wang Wenle bowed to Wei Hong. Wei Hong frowned and immediately understood what Wang Wenle meant. Apparently, someone specifically asked Wang Wenle to watch him, probably to see if he knew how to set up formations. But the other party had a reason and was very polite. Even if Wei Hong was unhappy, he couldn't show it, so he just nodded and said, okay, then please lead the way, Wang Dao. Since the other party didn't trust him and wanted to stare at him, Wei Hong simply let him go. Anyway, arranging and repairing formations are not something that cannot be watched by others, so just watch it. Okay, Guan Dao, please come this way. Wang Wenle didn't care about Wei Hong's attitude, and hurriedly took him to the Class B rental area. While walking, Wang Wenle introduced to Wei Hong, Guan Dao, this C-307 task is about repairing the water mist formation of Class B rental area number 15. The water mist formation was damaged a while ago and has not been repaired yet. As for the C-225 task, Guan needs to arrange a new set of water mist formations, and the location is the number 9 independent courtyard in the Class B rental area. That's right, the number 9 independent courtyard referred to in the second task is where Su Guan and others gathered before. It is also the courtyard that faced the attack of dozens of fireball talismans. It is precisely because of this that the number 9 independent courtyard needs to be rearranged with a set of water mist array. Wei Hong understood it in his heart, but responded calmly, "No problem, Taoist friend, just lead the way." Wang Wenel smiled and said nothing more, and soon took Wei Hong to the first mission location. Number 15 Independent Courtyard. Taoist friend Guan, this is it. After arriving at the destination, Wang Wenel stopped. Wei Hong looked up and saw an independent courtyard clearly in front of him. With just one glance, he knew that there was indeed a problem with the water mist array used as a warning and protection, so the number 15 courtyard was directly presented in front of him. If the water mist array was intact, it would never be like this. Taoist friend Guan, do you need to go in and take a look? Wang Wenel looked at Wei Hong tentatively. Wei Hong looked around for a while and said, "Let's go in and take a look." Since he was here, he naturally had to go in and take a look. Whether it was the arrangement or the position of the array flags, he needed to check it in person to know how to repair it. "No problem, this way please." Wang Wenel was also very straightforward. He took out a token and opened the door of the number 15 courtyard. After Wei Hong walked in, he began to check around without any hesitation. First, he checked the position of the 6 formation flags, and then checked the integrity and degree of damage of the formation flags. While checking, the knowledge of formations in Wei Hong's mind started to turn. Not only did he have a deeper understanding of the water mist formation, but he also figured out where the loopholes in this water mist formation appeared. "No problem, it can be fixed." Wei Hong looked up at Wang Wenel, looking both casual and confident. Chapter 404 Repair is easy. Huh? Wang Wenel couldn't help but be a little surprised. "Fellow Taoist Guan, have you found out the loopholes of this water mist formation?" "Yes, there's not much problem, but 2 of the formation flags were hit too hard, and there are some cracks on the formation flags themselves, plus the position has moved a little, which makes this water mist formation ineffective." Wei Hong nodded, and pointed out all the problems of this water mist formation as soon as he opened his mouth. Wang Wenel was a little confused because he didn't understand it all. Since fellow Taoist Guan has found out the problem, let's start repairing it." Wang Wenel stepped aside very tactfully. Wei Hong was not afraid of the stage, nodded and started to work. He first took out the 2 damaged formation flags and stopped the entire water mist formation temporarily. He looked at the 2 damaged formation flags carefully and found that both of them had a small vertical crack, and there were also several tiny holes on the flag surface. Although it seemed inconspicuous, it was actually quite damaged. Damaged formation flags are generally difficult to repair, and it requires a cultivator who is proficient in refining equipment to complete it. Therefore, the repair method will not directly repair the flags, but directly replace them. Wei Hong flipped his palm, and the 2 damaged flags were collected by Wei Hong. Wang Wenel's eyes flickered when he saw this, and he looked like he wanted to say something but stopped. But he thought about it and still didn't say it. Wei Hong didn't care about him so much. The damaged flags were quite useful for his research on the water mist formation. Besides, he didn't have any flags on hand. As long as he could find a way to repair these damaged flags in the future, it would save him a lot of effort, so he put them away without thinking. He flipped his palm again, and the other 2 intact flags appeared in his hand. After carefully confirming the position, he placed the 2 intact flags in a specific position. Then, he placed the other 2 flags that had deviated in position, and then continued to connect with the flags according to the weather, location, and the direction of the surrounding spiritual veins. Standing up, Wei Hong looked around. He found that the problem had been basically solved, and the water mist formation was also in a state of waiting to be activated. He made hand gestures, and a stream of spiritual energy flew out from his fingertips and fell into the formation. He used the spiritual energy to carefully sense the entire formation, and then used the spiritual energy to re-coordinate and synchronize the formation. "No problem, next we just need to put the spiritual stone in the center of the formation." Wei Hong nodded to Wang Wenel. Wang Wenel watched the whole process of Wei Hong repairing the water mist formation, and found that he was really good at it. For a while, his attitude became more and more friendly. Haha, okay, then I'll try. Originally, he was responsible for verifying the results of the task, so naturally he didn't need a spiritual stone. After saying that, he placed a spiritual stone in the center of the formation under Wei Hong's guidance. Wei Hong's spell changed, and at the same time he shouted, "Start!" As soon as he finished speaking, a white light shield enveloped the entire courtyard. Obviously, the water mist formation has taken effect. Wang Wenel was also a connoisseur. He immediately smiled and praised, "Haha, good, fellow Taoist Guan has great skills." Although he didn't know how to set up the formation, he knew that Wei Hong had indeed repaired the water mist formation. Then I am considered to have completed it. Wei Hong asked lightly. Yes, of course. Wang Wenel nodded with extraordinary certainty. Dao, wait a moment, I will record it first. As he said that, he took out a prepared paper and pen and recorded the task completed by Wei Hong. At this moment, Wang Wenel no longer had any doubts in his heart. He also knew that their manager had made a mistake. He didn't expect to meet a real formation master. Fortunately, the manager sent me here. Wang Wenel sighed in his heart. Wei Hong then reminded, Dao Wang, since this task is completed, let's go to the next task. Haha, of course no problem. Wang Wenel smiled heartily and immediately led the way in front. Dao Guan, come this way, the next task location is in courtyard number 9. Courtyard number 9. Wei Hong showed an inexplicable smile. Wang Wenel naturally didn't know what Wei Hong was thinking, and quickly brought him to the door of the number 9 independent courtyard. Huh? Wei Hong looked up and turned his head to ask, Wang Dao, this courtyard has just been built recently, right? The number 9 courtyard, which had been moved to the territory, appeared in front of Wei Hong again. He knew that it must have been newly built. Sure enough, Wang Wenel replied with a smile, Dao Guan is right, it is indeed newly built, so Dao Guan needs to set up a formation for this courtyard. The original water mist formation naturally couldn't withstand the power of dozens of fireball talismans, and was completely destroyed at the first time. Now that the number 9 courtyard has just been built, it is indeed necessary to set up a new water mist formation. Wei Hong just nodded casually to show that he knew, and then began to check around the number 9 courtyard. Unlike repairing the formation, arranging the formation needs to take into account all aspects. The position, direction, burial depth, etc. of the formation flags are all very particular. The range of the formation should be set according to the size of the target, and coordination should be carried out after the arrangement. In short, the formation is much more complicated than the repair formation. Especially for an outsider like Wang Wenel, it is simply incomprehensible. But for Wei Hong, who has already mastered the water mist formation to the minor success level, this is just a simple formation. Especially with a complete formation flag in hand, it is not too easy to set up a water mist formation. After he surveyed the position, he first arranged the 6 intact formation flags one by one to a specific position, and then buried them at different depths according to the different positions of the formation, and finally connected the 6 formation flags. After doing this, Wei Hong pinched his hands again. He was coordinating the entire formation to connect the formation flags thoroughly. At the same time, he was also activating the runes on each formation flag, so that the 6 formation flags could completely become part of the water mist formation. Although these steps seem simple, this is for Wei Hong, who has knowledge of formations at the minor level. If it were someone else who knows nothing, he probably wouldn't even know how to place the formation flags, let alone set up the formation. Wang Wenel was also very clear about this, so when he saw Wei Hong set up the formation very neatly, he immediately became more certain about making friends with Wei Hong, and his doubts had long been thrown out of the window. After Wei Hong checked it twice, he found that there was no problem. So he signaled Wang Wenel to put a spiritual stone at the center of the formation, and then changed the formula to directly activate the entire water mist formation. Buzz! An invisible wave flashed by. Then, a layer of white light film quickly formed, covering the entire number 9 courtyard, and began to emit a faint white mist. The water mist formation is done. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405, Fawning, Status. Wang Wenl's eyes widened. He didn't understand formations, let alone how to set them up. He knew nothing about formations, so naturally he couldn't tell whether Wei Hong's formation was strong or weak. But he had come into contact with several first-level lower-grade formation masters, and found that no formation master could set up a water mist formation as easily as Wei Hong. When the white light film was formed, Wang Wenl knew that the water mist formation had begun to take effect. In other words, from the time he entered the door to now, in just less than half an hour, Wei Hong had successfully set up a water mist formation. Is it done? Wang Wenl stared at the white light film in a daze. Yes, it's done, and you can check it, fellow Taoist Wang. Wei Hong nodded lightly. Fellow Taoist Guan. Wang Wenl turned his head suddenly and looked at Wei Hong with burning eyes. Haha, fellow Taoist Guan is really good. He set up the formation in less than half an hour. I admire you. From the moment he set up the water mist formation, Wang Wenl knew that Wei Hong's identity as a formation master was absolutely genuine. Moreover, he had never seen anyone who could set up the water mist formation so easily and in such a short time. In the past, he had come into contact with those first-level low-grade formation masters, and each of them took more than an hour to set up the formation, and they all felt a little stumbling when setting up the formation, which was not comparable to Wei Hong at all. Therefore, Wang Wenl instantly had the idea of making friends with Wei Hong. After all, such a powerful formation master is very rare. However, Wei Hong just smiled and said, Fellow Taoist Wang, you are too kind. Guan is just practice makes perfect. Hey, fellow Taoist Guan, this is too modest. Among the many formation masters I have seen, your formation setting skills can definitely rank in the top 3. Wang Wenl praised him generously. Moreover, he believed that after he reported this news to their steward, the steward would immediately take it seriously and would never dare to underestimate the Taoist Guan Yu in front of him. You know, even if it is just a low-grade first-level array master, not everyone can curry favor with him, not to mention who knows whether this Taoist Guan Yu will continue to be promoted. If you don't make a good relationship with him now, there will be no chance in the future. Thinking of this, Wang Wenl immediately said to Wei Hong, Well, Taoist Guan, this water mist array does not need to be verified anymore. I will record it for you immediately, and then we will go back to the General Affairs Hall to collect the task reward. What do you think? Since you want to show your goodwill, you naturally have to help others get the task reward as soon as possible. Wei Hong was naturally more willing. He smiled and nodded and said, Okay, then I'll trouble you, Taoist Wang. You're welcome. Wang Wenl waved his hand nonchalantly and quickly finished all the work. Then he took Wei Hong directly back to the side hall in the backyard of the General Affairs Hall, and even this time he didn't dare to let Wei Hong wait at the door again. Let's go, fellow Taoist Guan, let's go in together. The mission still needs to be confirmed by our stewards before you can collect your reward. In order to show his closeness, Wang Wenl pulled Wei Hong and walked into the hall. After entering the side hall, Wei Hong found that it was a bit more lively here than when he left before. Fellow Taoist Han, fellow Taoist Qin, and fellow Taoist Chuan, how come the 3 of you have time to come here? After Wang Wenl saw the faces of the 3 people in the hall clearly, he greeted them in surprise. Wei Hong didn't know any of them, so he just nodded to the 3 of them. The most burly of the 3 people in front of Wang Wenl turned around and smiled. Haha, it turns out to be fellow Taoist Wang. Nothing, we just came here to ask Senior Wu about something. The other 2 also smiled and greeted Wang Wenl, and then looked at Wei Hong with a slightly puzzled look. One of the 2 was thin, but his height was actually taller than the burly man in front. The other one had an elegant face and looked like a gentle middle-aged Confucian scholar. Wang Wenl was not in a position to ask more about the 3 of them, so he stepped forward and said, Master Steward, we are back to deliver the mission. Deliver the mission. Wu Zhenhe was a little confused when he saw Wang Wenl and the other 2 come in, but now he frowned secretly. How long have you been out? Have you completed both missions? Han Long, Qin Bian and Yuan Shengai saw that Wang Wenl and the other 2 were here to deliver the mission, so they stepped aside tactfully. Wang Wenl knew the character of their steward Wu Zhenhe very well, so he stepped forward a few steps and whispered in Wu Zhenhe's ear, as if he didn't want Han Long and the other 2 to hear him. As a result, Han Long and the other 2 who were waiting on the side became even more curious. After a while, Wu Zhenhe, who had been frowning, suddenly smiled. Haha, I didn't expect that Guandaoiao completed both tasks so quickly. Great, Guandaoiao's method of setting up the formation is really good. I admire you very much. If he hadn't confirmed it with Wang Wenel again and again, Wu Zhenhe almost thought that Wang Wenel was fooling him. They had been out for less than 2 hours and came back, and they had completed both tasks. The quality and speed of the tasks were very good. How could Wu Zhenhe, who was already somewhat distrustful of Wei Hong, not be surprised? For a moment, Wei Hong's weight in Wu Zhenhe's heart suddenly increased by an unknown amount, and the distrust in his heart had long since dissipated, and then turned into great attention. Han Long and the other two, who were waiting on the side and seemed a little curious, suddenly lit up their eyes after hearing what Wu Zhenhe said. There was no way, it was really hard for people not to notice the word set up the formation in his words. Therefore, before Wei Hong could reply, the burly Han Long beside him immediately looked at Wei Hong with a smile. Oh? Senior Wu, this fellow Taoist is also a formation master? I wonder what your name is? I am Han Long. As he said that, Han Long bowed to Wei Hong very politely. At this time, Qin Bian and Yuan Shanghai suddenly greeted him very enthusiastically. Haha, fellow Taoist is a formation master? I am Qin Bian, I am really disrespectful. Not bad, not bad, I wonder what your name is? I am Yuan Shanghai, meeting fellow Taoist. In an instant, because of Wu Zhenhe's words, the attitudes of several people in the side hall suddenly changed, which caught Wei Hong off guard. Huh? Wei Hong was stunned for a moment, then he bowed to Han Long and the others and said, My name is Guan Yu, nice to meet you three fellow Taoists. After greeting, Wei Hong turned to look at Wu Zhenhe and responded with a smile, Haha, Senior Wu, you are too polite. I dare not accept such praise from you. I am just trying my best. At this moment, Wei Hong more intuitively felt the changes that the identity of a formation master had brought to him. Chapter 406, Goodwill, Rent a Small Courtyard. The importance of the formation master was fully demonstrated at this moment. Even though Wei Hong was only a first-class formation master, no one dared to look down on him. Wu Zhenhe even showed great respect for him, and several other cultivators he didn't know took the initiative to greet him. Wei Hong couldn't figure out why there was such a change. It seems that I still underestimated the importance of the formation master among the casual cultivators. Wei Hong sighed in his heart. Wu Zhenhe, the manager of the General Affairs Hall, waved his hand and smiled. You deserve it, Daoya Guan, don't be modest. Wen Li has already told me about your performance. Haha, Daoyao can go to collect the reward at any time with a task token. Wu Zhenhe was quite happy, as if he had found a piece of beautiful jade. It's not that Wu Zhenhe couldn't get in touch with any formation masters with his identity, but that every formation master is a scarce resource. Especially after listening to Wang Wenel's description, Wu Zhenhe knew that Wei Hong's attainments in formations would definitely not be too low, and it was not impossible for him to be promoted to a higher level in the future, so he immediately changed his mindset and began to befriend Wei Hong. Hearing that the reward was so easy to get, Wei Hong's eyes lit up. Haha, thank you, Senior Wu. Since people have sent their kindness to his door, how could he not accept it? What's more, the reward for the task was earned by his hard work. At this time, Han Long next to him directly interrupted. Haha, it turns out to be Guan Yu. I didn't expect that Guan Yu is really a formation master. Nice to meet you. That's right, I wonder if Guan Yu is free tonight. I would like to invite Guan Yu to sit in Beixiang Tower. Please do me a favor. Qin Bian next to him seemed unwilling to lag behind and directly issued an invitation to the banquet. Daoya Guan, to be honest, I admire you very much. I would like to invite you to Zhu Xianzhu. Yuan Shanghai, who looked like a Confucian scholar, immediately made an invitation, and seemed to think highly of Wei Hong. Wei Hong himself did not expect that just by revealing his identity as a formation master, he would immediately attract the attention and wooing of others, which really surprised Wei Hong. Wang Wenel, who was standing aside, was very perceptive and immediately introduced the identities of Han Long and the other two to Wei Hong in a low voice. According to Wang Wenel, Han Long, Qin Bian and Yuan Shanghai were all leaders of the Loose Cultivator Group. The so-called Loose Cultivator Group is actually a group of a few people or more than a dozen people who hold each other together for warmth. It is not necessary to mention how difficult it is to be a loose cultivator. Therefore, whether it is to deal with the suppression of others or to live better in the market, many smart loose cultivators naturally unite, which is the origin of the loose cultivator group. Among Han Long and the other two, Han Long had the highest cultivation level, reaching the 6th level of key training, while Qin Bian and Yuan Shengai were both at the 5th level of key training. After learning the identities of the three, Wei Hong suddenly realized. Obviously, Han Long and the other two valued his identity as a formation master. Since formation masters rarely appear among casual cultivators, once a free formation master appears, he will definitely be robbed and wooed in order to pull the formation master into his own small group. Once a formation master joins this small group, it will definitely be a qualitative improvement for this casual cultivator group. Whether it is going out hunting in the future or accepting tasks in the General Affairs Hall, the benefits that formation masters can bring to the casual cultivator group are self-evident. This is why Han Long and the other two took the initiative to express their goodwill as soon as they learned of Wei Hong's identity as a formation master. Unfortunately, Wei Hong absolutely did not dare to agree to any of them. Haha, don't blame me, fellow Taoists. I just came to Qingyuan Mountain Market not long ago. Recently, I just want to take some tasks to earn some spiritual stones. So I may disappoint you. Of course, we can still cooperate if we have the opportunity in the future. Wei Hong declined the three people's solicitation and invitation, but he didn't say it directly. Having said that, Han Long and the other two could only shake their heads and sigh. Wei Hong smiled and said goodbye to Wu Zhenhe and others, and said that he would need Wu Zhenhe's care in the future. Wu Zhenhe naturally responded with a smile, and then watched Wei Hong leave the side hall. After leaving the side hall, Wei Hong went to the front with 2 task tokens to receive the task reward of 35 spiritual stones. I got 35 spiritual stones for 2 tasks, and there is no cost expenditure. It seems that the identity of this formation master is really useful and makes money quickly. Touching the spiritual stones in his arms, Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh. In less than 2 hours, he got 35 spiritual stones for completing 2 tasks. If he changed to drawing talismans, he would not get such income even if he drew for a whole day. A comparison between the two shows the difference. No wonder formation masters are so rare and so popular. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. It seems that I have chosen the right path. Wei Hong felt extremely fortunate. Fortunately, he took a huge risk and decisively chose to attack Zhang Kenyan, which earned him the funds to buy formation scrolls. If not, he would not have been able to embark on this road to success. From now on, as long as he goes to the General Affairs Hall every now and then to take 1 or 2 formation tasks, he will no longer have to worry about not having spiritual stones, and his life will even be much better than before. Let's rent a yard first. Guan Yu's identity must be brought to the surface. If he doesn't rent a yard, he will be sorry for his identity as a formation master. Wei Hong moved his feet and walked towards the rental pavilion. This time, he wanted to rent a place for formation master Guan Yu to live in an independent courtyard. He thought it through very clearly. Since he had become a formation master, and was using another identity, he might as well continue to live in the market as Guan Yu, the formation master. In this way, he would have 2 different identities. This would definitely only benefit Wei Hong personally, and not harm him. Besides, the cunning rabbit has 3 burrows to prevent some unexpected situations. Therefore, even if the independent courtyard required 25 spirit stones a month, Wei Hong did not feel the slightest bit distressed. Instead, he felt that this was in line with the identity of a formation master, and he had to spend it when he should. I can earn back the rent money by completing a mission. What's there to hesitate about? What's more, the independent courtyard has formation protection, and the cultivation effect is better. There are too many benefits. After thinking it through, Wei Hong's steps became much lighter. He came to the rental pavilion and said directly, "Help me see if there are any independent courtyards in the Class B rental area that are vacant. I want to rent one." After experiencing the speed at which formation masters make money, Wei Hong became much more generous in spending money. Chapter 407, Learn by Analogy and Make Rapid Progress. Class B Rental Area. Independent Courtyard Number 30. This is the courtyard newly rented by the Array Master Guan Yu, and it is actually Wei Hong's new residence. After asking at the rental pavilion, Wei Hong randomly selected this place after a while. With a token, Wei Hong opened the array outside and walked into it. This place is basically no different from other courtyards Wei Hong has seen. But compared with his previous rental house, it is much better. First of all, the area is much larger than the wooden house, and it also has a small courtyard, with a well, kitchen and other facilities, and the supporting facilities are very complete. Secondly, it is much safer. The independent courtyards are all protected by arrays, which is the water mist array that Wei Hong is most familiar with at present, so in terms of safety, it is definitely much better than the shack wooden house. Finally, because the water mist array also has a spirit gathering effect, the concentration of spiritual energy in the courtyard is at least twice as thick as that of the wooden house. In this way, the benefits of practicing here are self-evident. I didn't expect that I would be able to live in such an independent courtyard so soon. Looking at the spotless courtyard, Wei Hong's face was full of emotion. The embarrassment and hardship when he first entered the world of immortal cultivation seemed to be just yesterday, and Wei Hong still remembered it vividly. At that time, he didn't even have the qualifications to live in the inner city, and could only build a wooden house in the mountains and forests outside the city. Who would have thought that it would only take a short time for him to live in such a safe and independent residence? Even Wei Hong himself found it hard to imagine. After a while, he first familiarized himself with the small courtyard, especially the water mist formation outside, which he checked carefully. After finding no problems, he sat cross-legged on the bed. Now Guan Yu's identity as a formation master can be used as a second identity, and renting this courtyard is also to facilitate the use of this identity. But the work at the talisman workshop cannot be abandoned for the time being. Although drawing talismans can no longer make much money, in order to be able to obtain talismans more easily in the future, the job at the talisman workshop cannot be resigned. In this case, I will go to the talisman workshop to draw talismans during the day, and come back here to practice at night. Just be careful not to be discovered. Wei Hong sat on the bed, and various thoughts kept flashing through his mind. He had to think carefully about his second identity and the subsequent arrangements and plans, so as not to expose his identity and cause unnecessary trouble. After thinking carefully and finding that there was nothing missing, Wei Hong closed his eyes and began to practice. The King Muju began to run slowly in his body, absorbing and refining the surrounding spiritual energy. However, after a moment, Wei Hong suddenly opened his eyes. Sure enough, with the spiritual gathering effect of the water mist array, the speed of practicing here is much faster than in the wooden house. This money is well spent. He estimated that the speed of practicing here is at least more than twice as fast as in the wooden house. In the long run, how big will the gap be? No wonder all the major sects want to occupy the best cave paradise. The difference in practice caused by the different concentration of spiritual energy is something that can't be caught up with no matter how many spiritual stones are spent. At this moment, Wei Hong was full of emotion. He finally realized the benefits of high concentration of spiritual energy, and it was so fast to practice. Even if he no longer ate spiritual rice and monster meat every day, Wei Hong's practice speed here would be much better than before. In this case, renting this independent courtyard seems very worthwhile. Suppressing the thoughts in his heart, Wei Hong closed his eyes again to practice. The next day Wei Hong resumed his original identity and went to the talisman workshop to draw talismans. The reason why he was unwilling to quit the job of the talisman workshop, in addition to the reasons mentioned above, was that only the talisman workshop would provide materials for drawing talismans for free. Therefore, even if he did not make money, Wei Hong did not want to leave the talisman workshop for the time being, in order to use the free materials to hone his skills in drawing talismans. Moreover, he had previously obtained 2 new talismans from Jenkinian's storage bag, namely the first-level medium-grade thorn talisman and the first-level medium-grade earth wall talisman. These 2 talismans had already been included in the system, and he also added 100 points of the remaining 200 vitality points to each of the 2 talismans. In this way, both first-level medium-grade talismans have reached the mastery level. With Wei Hong's current level of key training, although it was still a bit difficult to draw first-level middle-grade talisman, after slowly getting familiar with it, he still drew several thorn talismans and earth wall talismans one after another. By analogy, Wei Hong's understanding of the fireball talisman also deepened a lot. Unfortunately, he still couldn't set up a stall to sell talismans for the time being, especially the fireball talisman, which must not be brought out in the open. Therefore, Wei Hong only drew more than 10 fireball talismans as a protective trump card and stopped temporarily, and turned to draw other talismans. Especially the thorn talisman and the earth wall talisman, these 2 talismans are the 2 most drawn by Wei Hong after completing the basic tasks. Although the success rate of these 2 talismans is only about 15%, Wei Hong does not rely on drawing talismans to make money, so he doesn't care, and draws as many as he can. Just consider it as accumulating experience. Anyway, they're all free materials, it's a waste if you don't use them. Wei Hong didn't feel sorry for using the free materials provided by the Talisman Workshop. Anyway, he couldn't make much money in the Talisman Workshop now, and he could only get basic wages every month. So for the free materials provided by the Talisman Workshop, Wei Hong also used them as much as possible based on the principle of making the best use of them. If he had a good inspiration sometimes and could draw a few more thorn talismans and earth wall talismans in a month, Wei Hong would also take them to the treasure pavilion to sell. After all, every penny earned was a penny earned. Moreover, the thorn talisman and the earth wall talisman would not arouse suspicion, so there was absolutely no problem in selling them. In a month, it would be no problem for him to earn more than 10 or 20 spirit stones. At the same time, Wei Hong did not forget to go to the General Affairs Hall to accept the formation tasks. As he thought, no one was scrambling for the formation tasks in the General Affairs Hall. Fortunately, he also knew that he couldn't be too high profile, so he maintained a certain frequency. Every now and then, he would take on 1 or 2 formation tasks, and each time he could easily earn 20 or 30 spirit stones, which didn't seem to be much. But after a whole month, he got a considerable amount of spirit stones, up to 100 or 200 pieces, which was much easier than selling talismans before. If he didn't want to attract too much attention, he would have no problem doubling this amount. This income was already an astronomical figure compared to other low-level cultivators, and naturally made Wei Hong extremely satisfied. Finally, I don't have to live so poorly. Looking at the spirit stones he got, Wei Hong was delighted. Chapter 408 Jade Pill. Treasure Pavilion. After more than a month, Wei Hong came to the Treasure Pavilion again. However, this time, he appeared as Guan Yu, the Formation Master. Please come in, sir. Seeing Wei Hong's appearance, a servant of the Treasure Pavilion immediately came out with a smile. Wei Hong nodded slightly at him and stepped directly into the Treasure Pavilion. The servant led the way in front and asked enthusiastically, "Sir, do you want to buy or sell something? If you want to buy something, what do you want to buy?" Wei Hong responded casually, "I want to see the elixir that can improve my cultivation. Both the first grade lower grade and the first grade middle grade are fine." "Okay, sir, please wait a moment, I'll get it right away," the servant said politely. After working in the Treasure Pavilion for so many years, even if he was just a servant, he naturally developed excellent eyesight. In the eyes of these servants, cultivators who can afford elixirs are definitely not ordinary. No matter what grade of elixir they buy, there is no cheap elixir. Therefore, people who come here and ask to buy elixirs are definitely distinguished guests, and they start with dozens of spirit stones. Therefore, the servant became more polite and enthusiastic. Wei Hong waved his hand, signaling him to go back quickly. Soon, several white jade bottles appeared in front of Wei Hong. "Please look, sir, this is a first-grade lower-grade kindling pill." As soon as several white jade bottles were placed, the servant was ready to introduce them to Wei Hong. But Wei Hong directly stretched out his hand to stop him and said, "There is no need to introduce kindling pill and Hikao pill. I have seen them last time. Let's talk about the others." "Oh, okay." The servant was stunned at first, and then continued to introduce with enthusiasm, "This bottle is a first-grade intermediate medicine jade pill. No matter what attributes of spiritual roots, it can be taken. The effect is also very good. It is both gentle and powerful. It is suitable for Taoist friends in the middle stage of Qi training. Of course, Taoist friends in the third level of Qi training can also take it. As for those below the third level of Qi training, we do not recommend it. This bottle is also a first-grade intermediate medicine Yang pill. The effect of this medicine is more overbearing. We prefer Taoist friends with fire attribute spiritual roots to take it. And this bottle is a first-grade intermediate medicine Qi enhancement pill, which is also suitable for spiritual roots of all types of attributes. The effect is the best. Even Taoist friends in the 6th level of Qi training can take it." The servants briefly introduced the bottles of pills on the table to Wei Hong one by one. After Wei Hong understood, he asked directly, "What are the prices?" Jade pill is 65 spirit stones per bottle, Yang Yuan pill is 75 spirit stones per bottle, and Qi enhancement pill is 80 spirit stones per bottle. Which one do you want to buy? The servant quoted the price very skillfully, and then asked, Wei Hong stroked his chin with his hand and thought for a while. After a while, he raised his head and said, "Let's take Jade Pill. I want 2 bottles." The reason why he chose Jade Spirit Pill was that it was the cheapest. Secondly, it was because the effect of Jade Spirit Pill was the mildest, and it was suitable for him to take even if he had not yet broken through to the 4th level of key training. To be honest, buying 2 bottles of Jade Pill at one time was the most generous thing Wei Hong had ever done. It was more than 10 spirit stones more expensive than the last time he bought the formation scroll. This was actually decided by Wei Hong based on his current income. If he was not short of funds, he would even want to buy more than 3 bottles a month so that he could have pills every day. 2 bottles of elixir every month, plus the spirit gathering effect of the water mist array. The speed of cultivation will definitely be much faster than before. Wei Hong thought secretly in his heart. "Okay, please wait a moment." The servant smiled and quickly brought Wei Hong another bottle of Jade Pill, packed it together with a bottle on the table and handed it to Wei Hong. "These are 2 bottles of Jade Pill. Do you need to check the goods? If you have any questions, you can come back to our treasure pavilion at any time." Wei Hong waved his hand. "No need to check. Here are 130 spirit stones, count them." He took out 130 spirit stones and pushed them directly to the servant. After confirming, the servant smiled and nodded at Wei Hong. "The number is no problem. May I ask if you need anything else?" "No need." Wei Hong took the 2 bottles of Jade Spirit Pill and walked out of the treasure pavilion without looking back. Finally, I can use the power of elixir to cultivate again. It's not easy. Looking at the 2 bottles of Jade Spirit Pill placed in front of him, Wei Hong felt very emotional. Previously, he was able to buy pills to help him practice by selling all the rare minerals collected from Shen Jianen. It was also because of this that he was able to quickly break through to the 3rd level of key training. But since he finished taking the pills last time, he hasn't taken any pills for several months. Not for anything else, just because he can't afford it. Especially some time ago, he was targeted by the loose cultivators of the Talisman Master Association, and a lot of trouble happened. If he wasn't targeted, with the income from selling talismans at the stall, he would have no problem eating a bottle of Kingling Pill every month. Unfortunately, this path has been blocked. Until today, he has resumed his life of taking drugs and practicing. All of this is most directly related to the identity of the Formation Master. Formation Master. Wei Hong's eyes suddenly showed a trace of longing. I wonder if those high-level formation masters can really form formations with a wave of their hands. Since the identity of a formation master is so popular and so scarce, there is no reason for me not to continue to study the path of formations. As long as I can become a high-level formation master, wouldn't it be much easier to obtain various cultivation resources? Wei Hong was slightly excited when he thought that he would no longer have to worry about cultivation resources after becoming a high-level formation master. At the same time, he once again felt extremely fortunate and wise for choosing the path of formations. Sure enough, among the 4 arts of cultivating immortals, formations are the most difficult to learn and master. It is difficult for ordinary people to get started, let alone master formations. At this moment, Wei Hong was more determined to continue on the path of formations. With the existence of the system and the blessing of vitality points, as long as he can find more formation inheritances, learning various formations is the easiest thing. Formation inheritance, it seems that I need to continue saving money. The last fire dragon formation seems to be good, but it's a bit too expensive. Thinking of the 1st level formations he saw in the treasure pavilion last time, Wei Hong was quite tempted. If he was not short of funds at hand, he might have been unable to resist buying them directly. However, Wei Hong thought about it and worried secretly. The problem of funds is not big, just accumulate slowly, but the problem of vitality points is not easy to solve. When he thought of the robber cultivators squatting outside the market, Wei Hong couldn't help but secretly have a headache. Fortunately, he was not a sentimental person, and soon put these worries aside for the time being. Chapter 409, Never Get Tired of It. Class B Rental Area, Independent Courtyard Number 30. In the bedroom, Wei Hong was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed. He placed his hands flat on his knees and breathed steadily and slowly. The surroundings were quiet, and the air was filled with a strong spiritual energy. At this time, Wei Hong's body was like a magnet, constantly absorbing the spiritual energy around him, and then the spiritual energy was constantly poured into his body, like a bottomless pit. A strong spiritual power surged rapidly in his body, circulating along specific meridians one after another. Each circulation could refine a part of the absorbed spiritual energy, and then make the spiritual power in his body stronger. Wei Hong, who was fully devoted to cultivation, was now emitting a faint green light all over his body. His breath also became stronger, and the operation of the skills was getting faster and faster. The spiritual energy around him kept surging and pouring towards Wei Hong. Wei Hong accepted it all, and according to the skills of King Muju, he continuously refined and absorbed all the absorbed spiritual energy. 1 Haoshan. 2 cycles. 9 cycles. After 18 cycles, Wei Hong slowly opened his eyes. Huh? He exhaled slowly, and then said to himself, as expected, the biling pill is worth 65 spirit stones per bottle. The effect is indeed much better than the kindling pill. Feeling the strength of his spiritual power, Wei Hong knew that he was not far from breaking through to the 4th level of key training. Since moving into this independent courtyard, with the help of the spiritual gathering effect of the water mist formation and the powerful medicinal power of the biling pill, Wei Hong's cultivation speed has been advancing by leaps and bounds. Moreover, he did not stop supplying spiritual rice and monster meat every day, but replaced them with better ones. In this way, with the blessing of various resources, his cultivation speed directly skyrocketed several times, which made Wei Hong very satisfied. After just over a month, he felt that his cultivation had jumped a lot forward, and it would not be too far from breaking through to the 4th level of key training. Among them, the biling pill accounted for most of the credit. Without the help of elixirs, he would never be able to cultivate so fast even if he lived in an independent courtyard. Wei Hong knew this very well, and at the same time, he was secretly troubled. Alice, taking drugs is good for a while, but if there is no elixir, my cultivation speed will be reduced to the original speed, which is uncomfortable. When Wei Hong thought of his cultivation qualifications, he couldn't help but feel a little distressed. He can have the current cultivation speed because he almost spends all his monthly income on cultivation. Whether it is elixirs or better spiritual rice and monster meat, they all require a lot of spiritual stones. Now that he has the identity of a formation master, he can earn more spiritual stones every month with this identity, but the corresponding resources he invests in cultivation have also become more, because cultivation is a bottomless pit. In this way, Wei Hong's life is indeed much better than before, especially the speed of cultivation makes him extremely satisfied, but even so, he still can't accumulate many spiritual stones every month. But Wei Hong was very clear about his qualifications. He was a cultivator with very poor qualifications. If he did not rely on external resources and did not take drugs to practice, his practice speed would be like an old cow pulling a broken cart, which was pitifully slow. Once he was beaten back to his original state, Wei Hong himself could not accept it no matter what. Therefore, he had to keep taking drugs to practice, which meant that most of his income would be invested in practice. If he wanted to accumulate more spirit stones in a short period of time, it would be basically unrealistic unless he stopped taking pills. Forget it, don't think about it for now. Practice when you need to. The rest will be discussed after you break through to the 4th level of key training. Wei Hong sighed and suppressed all the thoughts in his mind. As long as he could break through to the 4th level of key training, he would be considered a cultivator in the middle stage of key training, and he would be able to gain a firm foothold in the market, and it would be more convenient to do something when he wanted to. Besides, Wei Hong is quite satisfied with his life now. If he can't accumulate spirit stones, then he can't accumulate them. He doesn't intend to force it. After all, you can't have your cake and eat it too. As long as he can improve his cultivation, it's fine. 3 months passed in a flash. In the past 3 months, Wei Hong's life has hardly had many ups and downs. During the day, he would restore his original appearance and go to the talisman workshop to draw talismans. At night, he would use the identity of Guan Yu to return to the independent courtyard number 30 to practice hard. Every now and then, he would go to the general affairs hall to take on 1 or 2 formation tasks. Then he would spend all the spirit stones he earned on cultivation, either buying biling pills or buying spirit rice and monster meat. Wei Hong is happy with this. He can feel the progress of his cultivation every day and night, and he can earn a lot of spirit stones every month. How can Wei Hong be dissatisfied with such a life? Naturally, he is immersed in it. At the same time, the identity of Guan Yu, the formation master, has gradually become famous among the casual cultivators in the market. After Han Long and his 3 companions, many small groups of independent cultivators came to win over or show their goodwill. In the face of friendly goodwill, Wei Hong always responded politely, and also expressed his willingness to make friends with them. It was a friendly exchange between them. In the face of various attempts to win over, he politely refused, but he also came up with a suitable reason. At least he would not offend anyone. In this way, the identity of Guan Yu, the array master, became more and more popular in the market. That night, Wei Hong sat cross-legged, with a small white jade bottle in front of him. His expression was slightly solemn, but his breathing was still steady. After a while, he picked up the small white jade bottle, poured out the last 2 green spirit pills from it, and stuffed them into his mouth without any hesitation. "Let's start," Wei Hong said secretly, and then closed his eyes. He had a hunch that tonight was the time for him to break through to the 4th level of key training. For this reason, he swallowed 2 green spirit pills at once, just to be able to completely open the final step. As soon as the 2 dialing pills were swallowed down his throat, they immediately turned into 2 warm currents that flowed into his body. Wei Hong did not dare to neglect and began to practice the King Muju with all his heart and soul. Over and over again, he continuously absorbed and refined the medicinal power of the dialing pills. At the same time, he continuously absorbed a large amount of spiritual energy from the sides of his body, allowing his own spiritual power to continue to merge and grow. As Wei Hong used all his strength to practice the technique to absorb the medicinal power, his body began to emit a faint green light and exuded a breath that was not strong, but this breath was slowly increasing. At this time, Wei Hong was like a bottomless pit, and it seemed that the spiritual energy that was constantly poured into it was not enough. I don't know how long it took, but the breath that was emitted seemed to have reached the critical value. Suddenly, Wei Hong's body shook, and the spiritual power in his body suddenly increased by a circle, and the breath he emitted instantly increased by more than 2 times. The 4th level of key training, it's done. Chapter 410, the middle stage of key training, the strength increases dramatically. Wei Hong gently opened his eyes, and a gleam of light flashed by. Sensing the changes in the spiritual energy in his body, he couldn't help but laugh with joy. Haha, I finally broke through to the middle stage of key training. It's not easy. It's worth it that I invested so many spiritual stones and took so many pills. All the investment was rewarded at this moment. It's all worth it. At this moment, Wei Hong could clearly sense that his strength had skyrocketed several times compared to before. Not only did the meridians widen more than twice, but the original thumb-sized spiritual power also grew a lot, becoming the size of a pigeon egg, and the breath was much stronger. The enlarged spiritual power whirred and circulated in the meridians, without feeling strenuous and extremely smooth, which made Wei Hong feel refreshed and wanted to roar to the sky. From the early stage of key training to the middle stage of key training, his strength can be said to have been qualitatively improved. Stepping into the ranks of cultivators in the middle stage of key training, Wei Hong can barely gain a foothold in the world of immortal cultivation. After all, cultivators in the middle stage of key training can be said to be the largest group in the entire world of immortal cultivation. Being able to enter the middle stage of key training proves that this person is qualified to walk in the world of immortal cultivation. Of course, being qualified to walk in the world of immortal cultivation does not mean that one can save his life in the face of various dangers. Wei Hong also knows this very well, so after enjoying the joy of breakthrough, his mind began to become active. Now that I have entered the middle stage of key training, I am no longer a novice in cultivation, and I should consider increasing my combat power. As his cultivation level improved, Wei Hong also began to think about how to enhance his combat power. Although I have entered the middle stage of key training, my cultivation of the 4th level of key training is really insufficient. If I encounter a few people in the late stage of key training, I am afraid that I will have a hard time escaping. Let's not talk about other things first. There are robbery cultivators waiting outside the market. With my cultivation level, I dare not leave the market for fear of being killed. If I don't find a way to enhance my combat power, I am afraid that I will not dare to step out of the market until I cultivate to the late stage of key training. Other things are easy to say. I can find a way to stay in the market, but I can't get vitality points. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more it made sense. He also felt that the issue of enhancing his own combat power should be put on the agenda. Although he had the upper hand in the previous fight with a group of old talisman masters, he succeeded every time by relying on sneak attacks and a lot of talismans. Once he encounters a higher level or well-prepared one in the future, he is likely to fall flat on his face. Of course, for Wei Hong at present, several spells have reached the great success level, and he has a lot of talismans in his hands, so there is absolutely no problem in dealing with cultivators of the same level. If he could get the help of 9 ghost children, it would not be a problem to face several cultivators in the middle stage of key training at the same time. However, what is most lacking in the world of immortal cultivation is emergencies and various accidents. Wei Hong can now protect himself when facing cultivators at the 6th level of key training, but what if he faces cultivators at the 7th or even 9th level of key training? It is impossible to expose the black sword as a trump card every time, right? If people knew that he had the black sword as a trump card, he would definitely be coveted by cultivators of higher levels. By then, it would bring him even greater trouble. Therefore, it is very necessary for him to enhance his own combat power. According to his idea, once he encounters the enemy head-on, with magic tools to protect himself and attack, and talisman smashing like crazy, it is normally difficult for ordinary cultivators to withstand it. So he thought carefully in his mind, if you want to enhance your own combat power, you can only start from several aspects. First, purchase powerful magic weapons. Second, purchase various talismans. Third, learn powerful spells. Wei Hong's thoughts became clearer and clearer, and he continued to think, powerful magic weapons are very necessary. Not only must there be flying swords for attack, but also spiritual shields for defense, spiritual boots that increase speed, and so on. It seems that I need to purchase another batch of magic weapons to arm myself as much as possible, so that I can deal with various situations once the fight really occurs. As for talismans, the ones I drew myself are enough for now. The offensive talismans include fireball talismans, wood thorn talismans, and thorn talismans. The defensive talismans include water shield talismans, wooden wall talismans, and earth wall talismans. There will be absolutely no problem with their cooperation. It's just that the number required is a bit large. I still need to draw more talismans for self-defense. Now that I have entered the 4th level of key training, the success rate of the 3 first-level middle-grade spells can be improved to a considerable degree. The speed of accumulating talismans has also increased a lot, so there is no need to worry about this. As for the spells, thinking of this, Wei Hong grinned a little. He is now a cultivator in the middle stage of key training. If he wants to practice spells, he naturally needs the corresponding first-level middle-grade spells, so that he can better exert his strength. But he doesn't have any spells on hand now, so he needs to go to the treasure pavilion to buy them. However, the cheapest first-level middle-grade spells cost 70 or 80 spirit stones each. If Wei Hong wants to buy a few more, it will cost hundreds of spirit stones. Not enough, far from enough. When Wei Hong thought about buying these things, he couldn't help but calculate in his mind, not to mention a lot. Let's buy 3 spells first, that will cost at least more than 200 spirit stones. I also need to buy magic tools. The flying sword I used before can still be used temporarily, but the defensive spirit shield must not be saved, that will cost another 1 or 200 spirit stones. If you have a flying sword, you must have a sword technique, so that you can fully exert the power of the flying sword. An ordinary first-level middle-grade sword technique will cost more than 100 spirit stones. It would be better to buy 1 or 2 life-threatening forbidden techniques, which will cost another 200 or 300 spirit stones. Hiss, without 700 or 800 spirit stones, you can't get it. This number scared Wei Hong so much that he couldn't help but gasp. He didn't expect that, he just wanted to increase his combat power a little, but after careful calculation, he would need at least 700 or 800 spirit stones to achieve his goal. This scared him so much that the joy after the breakthrough was thrown out of his mind. There was no way, this number was really too huge. Even though he can earn more than 200 spirit stones every month, that amount is definitely a huge expense for him. You have to know that most of his monthly income is spent on cultivation, and he can't save many spirit stones. Unless he stops buying elixirs and cultivation resources every month, he can barely save enough in 4 or 5 months. Now that my cultivation has broken through, it's no problem not taking drugs for the time being. Just treat it as a stable realm, but it's a little difficult to adapt. Alice, there are still not enough spirit stones. Wei Hong couldn't help but sighed a little depressed. Chapter 411 Qingyuan Mountain Outer Sect Trade Fair. The next day Wei Hong had a clear plan for his next arrangement, so he started to act accordingly. According to his idea, he needed to purchase 1 or 2 magic tools, 3 to 4 magic spells, a sword technique, and 1 or 2 life-threatening forbidden techniques. If it was just 1 or 2 things, he would choose to buy them at the treasure pavilion without hesitation. But this time he needed to buy a lot of things, and it would be a bit of a loss if he went to the treasure pavilion again. After all, the treasure pavilion refused to bargain when doing business, and no one could change that. So if he wanted to buy all those things at once and wanted to get a bargain, he had to find other ways and definitely could not let the treasure pavilion slaughter him. So Wei Hong began to ask around in the market. However, the results of the inquiry surprised him, and even greatly exceeded his expectations. 1 month later, the Kingayan Mountain Outer Sect Trade Fair. Wei Hong stroked his chin, with a gleam of surprise in his eyes. Originally, he just wanted to find someone to ask if there was a black market or underground exchange fair, to see if he could find something suitable for himself in those places, either by buying it with spirit stones or exchanging it with talismans. But he didn't expect that he didn't find out about the black market, but instead found out about another larger scale and open trade fair, that is, the Kingayan Mountain Outer Gate Trade Fair. The reason why this trade fair is called the Kingayan Mountain Outer Gate Trade Fair is that it is not actually organized by Kingayan Mountain, but the location of the trade fair is set on a mountainside outside Kingayan Mountain, so it has such a name. The real organizer of this trade fair is actually the 4 major business houses headed by the Treasure Pavilion. After all, businessmen value profit, and this kind of trade fair that can bring them a lot of benefits is naturally the favorite of the business houses. The trade fair is held once a year, and every time it is held, a large number of cultivators will come to participate. Of course, casual cultivators in the market are also allowed to participate. In this way, many key training masters will come to set up stalls and trade every year. At that time, not only will cultivators in the late stage of key training be able to see it easily, but also all kinds of unexpected good things will appear at the trade fair. The most important thing is that you can find bargains at this kind of trade fair. What is a bargain? It means that you find something good that others cannot find, and you buy it at a very low price. This is called a bargain, but it is a test of a person's vision and luck. Moreover, the things on each stall can be bargained, and you can even buy many good things that you can't buy at ordinary times at a low price. This is what Wei Hong likes most, so he was so surprised when he learned about the existence of the trade fair. During the trade fair, all kinds of skills, spells, magic tools, elixirs, secret techniques, materials and talismans, etc., as long as they are not too high level or too rare, can basically be found at the trade fair. How can Wei Hong not participate in such a grand event? Whether it is to broaden his horizons or to get what he wants at the lowest price possible, he must participate in this trade fair. There are definitely a lot of good things at this kind of trade fair. It's much more cost-effective than going to the treasure pavilion to be slaughtered. There is no doubt that you must participate. A firm light flashed in Wei Hong's eyes. He believed that there would definitely be many good things that others would not be willing to take out at ordinary times. He did not want to miss such a good opportunity. The most important thing was that it would definitely help him save a lot of spirit stones. I still have to save money. There are so many things to buy. Even if I can bargain, it will cost a lot of spirit stones in total. Although Wei Hong was very surprised to get the news of the trade fair, he was troubled by the issue of funds. If he had no money, it would be useless even if he went to the trade fair. However, Wei Hong's eyes turned and he had an idea in his mind. I heard that the trade fair can not only use spirit stones to buy things, but also barter. In this case, it seems that I must draw more talismans. I also need to take more tasks related to formations, and try to save as many spirit stones as possible in a month. Wei Hong thought very clearly. Anyway, bartering was allowed at the trade fair. The fireball talisman, thorn talisman and earth wall talisman he drew could be used to exchange for what he needed. In this way, his financial pressure was reduced a lot. At the same time, in order to accumulate spirit stones, he decided to take more formation tasks this month. At present, taking array tasks is the main way for Wei Hong to earn spirit stones. If he wants to accumulate more spirit stones, he must complete more array tasks. If he is not worried about being too ostentatious and attracting too much attention, Wei Hong would like to take tasks every day, so that he can earn at least 700 to 800 spirit stones in a month. But he can't do this. Even if he takes more tasks now to accumulate spirit stones, It is a last resort. After all, a steady stream of water is the long-term way, and Wei Hong naturally knows this. With a clear goal, he began to work hard for it. From the second day, in addition to completing basic tasks in the talisman workshop, he put all his energy into drawing 3 kinds of talismans: Fireball Talisman, Thorn Talisman and Earthwall Talisman. Especially the Fireball Talisman, which is the first and most familiar first-level middle-grade talisman he came into contact with. When he was still in the 3rd level of key training, his success rate in drawing the Fireball Talisman was only 25%. But now that his cultivation has broken through to the 4th level of key training, he feels completely different when drawing the Fireball Talisman. Smooth, completed in one go. It is most appropriate to describe it as a dragon-like pen in a flowing stream. After just a few drawings, Wei Hong felt a gap between the 3rd and 4th levels of key training. After reaching the middle stage of key training, Wei Hong's spiritual power increased by more than 1 time. Whether it was the subtle control of spiritual power or the continuous output ability, it was much stronger than when he was in the 3rd level of key training. This made his success rate in drawing Fireball Talisman soar. After just a few skill drawings, he was pleasantly surprised to find that his success rate in drawing Fireball Talismans increased to 40%, which was simply incomparable to before. In this way, his speed of accumulating Fireball Talismans was greatly improved. In addition, Wei Hong did not give up on the Thorn Talisman and the Earthwall Talisman. Although the current realm of these 2 talisman methods has not been improved, he can still draw a few of them with a consumption of a large amount of materials. After leaving the talisman workshop in the afternoon, he went to the General Affairs Hall as Guan Yu to accept the formation task. Then use the time from afternoon to evening to complete 1 or 2 tasks as much as possible. After receiving the task reward, he returned to courtyard number 30. This cycle repeated itself over and over again, and every day was fully scheduled. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412, Monsters and Demons. A month later. This day is the day when the Kingayan Mountain Outer Gate Trade Fair officially begins. In fact, since half a month ago, many foreign monks have been coming to the Kingayan Mountain Market. And as time goes by, the number of people has begun to increase. In the past few days, all the inns, restaurants, wooden houses and courtyards in the market were filled with crowded people. After all, there are still many wealthy monks. Even the mountains and forests outside are full of monks who come to participate in the trade fair, so that King Gaiman has to send a large number of patrol teams to avoid conflicts caused by the mixed fish and dragons, thus affecting the development of the trade fair. On the day when the trade fair opened, all kinds of monks were crowded inside and outside the Kingayan Mountain Market. Some people wore Taoist robes, carrying magic swords and whisks. Some people were covered in animal skins, with mysterious patterns engraved all over their bodies. Some people had long swords on their waists, their hair was disheveled, but they picked up a wine gourd from time to time to take a sip. Some people were shining with golden light, and magic tools were everywhere on their bodies, just like local rich people. Some people wore black hoods to hide their faces, looking like they didn't want to be recognized. In short, there were all kinds of things, all kinds of strange things. At the same time, the magic weapons these monks carried were also diverse. There were flying swords, flying knives, longbows, heavy hammers, axes, treasure umbrellas, folding fans, etc. After all, not everyone could afford a storage bag, so those magic weapons could only be carried with them. Before entering the trade fair, Wei Hong had already opened his eyes. Looking at those monks of all kinds and the strange magic weapons, Wei Hong couldn't help but secretly sigh that this trade fair was indeed not a mistake. Just this wave of experience made him feel very worthwhile. As the time came, an invisible wave flashed by, and the formation restriction outside Kingayan Mountain was completely opened, revealing a mountain that was neither high nor low, which was the location of the trade fair. It's open, it's open. The Kingayan Sex formation barrier has been opened. Haha, fellow Taoists, I'll go first. Hurry up, let's go up the mountain. The trade fair is halfway up the mountain. Haha, it's finally started. Let's go too. Let's go and get a good spot first. Seeing the formation barrier open, The cultivators who had been waiting for a long time were instantly in an uproar. A large number of cultivators began to walk quickly along the road to the mountainside excitedly, and many of them were in groups. Although the speed of these casual cultivators was not slow, there were still people who were much faster than them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One after another, figures flew directly past on their swords and disappeared from the sight of many casual cultivators in a short while. Wow, it's a senior in the foundation building stage. Flying with a sword, I wish I could do it someday. Don't dream, let's go. You dare to dream of doing that in the foundation building stage. Hurry, hurry, the seniors in the foundation building stage have arrived, let's go grab a seat. Seeing dozens or hundreds of flying swords whizzing by, the casual cultivators on the ground all showed envy and all. You know, the symbol of a cultivator in the foundation building stage is the ability to fly with a sword. So if you want to realize the dream of flying with a sword, you must first be promoted to the foundation building stage. This is a completely unattainable fantasy for many casual cultivators below. Not to mention the geniuses in the major sects, there are often only 1 in 10,000 casual cultivators who can build a foundation. For casual cultivators to build a foundation, talent, opportunity, luck and resources are all indispensable. Of course, if there is a casual cultivator who can stand out and become a cultivator in the foundation building stage, then this person will definitely become a strong person in the same level, and is often more difficult to deal with than the geniuses in the sects. After Wei Hong saw the figure of the foundation building cultivator flying on a sword, it was impossible for him not to envy him. But deep in his heart, he was extremely confident. For other casual cultivators, it was like a step in the sky, but he could easily cross it with the help of the system, so he was not in a hurry at all, and just needed to develop slowly. Following the flow of people, Wei Hong and the majority of casual cultivators slowly walked into the trade fair. The entire halfway up the mountain was opened up as the venue for the trade fair, and the area was very wide. Those cultivators who entered the venue first rushed to grab the position of the stall, fearing that the good position would be taken away if they were a little slow, and it was a noisy scene. Fortunately, the organizers had already made arrangements. Not only did they set up signboards on the roadside, but they also sent hundreds of guides to guide waves of cultivators. The internal venue of the trade fair was also divided into a large trading area, where casual cultivators could set up stalls and trade. They only needed to pay a fee of 1 spirit stone per day, and no taxes would be charged for subsequent transactions. 1 spirit stone is basically a price that everyone can accept, so a large number of casual cultivators asked for the location and started to set up stalls and do business. When Wei Hong walked into the trading area, it was already occupied by countless stalls. Fortunately, the organizer planned it well. The rows of stalls were neat and uniform, and it didn't look messy. It was just that there were too many people, so it seemed a bit crowded. Hey, there are really a lot of people. All kinds of monsters have come out. Looking at such a scene, Wei Hong couldn't help but smile bitterly. But he was not in a hurry at all, but began to stroll around in this trading area. He kept strolling along the roadside stalls, stopping to look at what he was interested in or what he couldn't recognize, and skipping it if he was not interested. Soon he visited dozens of stalls. Wei Hong found that many stalls did have a lot of good things that were not usually seen, such as some fine magic tools, and some rare spiritual flowers and herbs. But there are still some ordinary things. Some people even want to mix fake goods with real ones, and put many objects of unknown origin and difficult to distinguish on the stalls to deceive buyers. This is a test of a person's eyesight and experience. If the goods you buy are not the same, you can't blame others. In this regard, Wei Hong is also very cautious. As he walked along, he paid more attention to some stalls selling skills and spells. There are also stalls selling fine magic tools, which are also within his scope of attention. After a long walk, Wei Hong found that there are quite a few stalls selling magic. The various spells dazzled him and he wanted to put them all in his pocket. Unfortunately, his funds are limited, so he can only temporarily choose a few practical spells that can quickly enhance combat power. Consider spells and sword skills first. If magic tools and spirit shields are too expensive, give them up first and talk about it later. Wei Hong has a clear positioning in his mind and knows what is important. Moreover, this trade fair is mixed with all kinds of people, and he must be vigilant not to be targeted by others to avoid unnecessary trouble. Thinking of this, Wei Hong suddenly stopped. Chapter 413, Wind controlling technique and detection technique. Dao, can I take a look? Wei Hong stopped in front of a stall selling spells and asked the stall owner. There were more than 10 white jade slips on the stall. Assuming that one jade slip recorded one spell, there were at least 10 spells here, so Wei Hong wanted to see if there was anything he needed. The stall owner in front of him was a middle-aged monk who looked over 50 years old and wore ordinary robes. He looked quite good. In response to Wei Hong's inquiry, the middle-aged stall owner nodded and said, "Yes, you can take a look at it, just don't damage it." "Thank you." Wei Hong naturally knew the rules. He squatted down, picked up a jade slip and stuck it on his forehead. Key training cultivators have not yet cultivated their spiritual consciousness and cannot check the jade slips out of their bodies. Therefore, if a key training cultivator wants to check the information in the jade slip, he must stick the jade slip on his forehead and use his own spirit to check it. In fact, the so-called spiritual consciousness is the externalization of the primordial spirit, which can leave the body and show itself outside. This is also one of the signs of the foundation building stage. Only when you reach the foundation building stage can you cultivate spiritual consciousness. Wei Hong was already familiar with this common sense, so he naturally wouldn't make any jokes. After sticking the jade slip on his forehead, Wei Hong closed his eyes. After a moment, he opened his eyes again and put the jade slip back to its original position. Obviously, the information recorded in the jade slip just now did not meet his needs. Wei Hong didn't care, but picked up the second jade slip and continued to check it. When he saw the third jade slip, Wei Hong couldn't help but secretly rejoice. However, he did not show any abnormality, but took the jade slip and asked the stall lightly, "Dao, how much is this wind control technique?" The jade slip in his hand was engraved with the wind control technique. The so-called wind control technique, according to the content of the jade slip, the wind control technique can enable the caster to control the wind and glide at low altitude, and the speed is not slow at all, and it seems to be faster than his flying speed in the innate realm. From this point of view, whether it is to escape or encounter special situations, this wind control technique may come in handy, especially before he can fly with a sword. It is still necessary to learn this wind control technique. Therefore, Wei Hong took a fancy to this spell at first sight. Facing Wei Hong's inquiry, the middle-aged stall owner looked up at him and replied indifferently, 80 spirit stones. Upon hearing this offer, Wei Hong's face did not change at all. Instead, he put the jade slip in his hand back to its original position, and then picked up the fourth jade slip to continue to examine it. Seeing that Wei Hong did not even intend to bargain, the middle-aged stall owner's mouth twitched slightly. Fortunately, he saw that Wei Hong was still examining the jade slips, so he did not speak. After a while, Wei Hong took another jade slip and asked, "Dao, how much is this detection technique?" The middle-aged stall owner seemed to see that Wei Hong really wanted to buy it, so this time the price was much more honest. "Dao, if you really want it, you can take it for 70 spirit stones." "Dao, give me a real price." Wei Hong looked at the middle-aged stall owner calmly and said, "This is a trade fair, there are many stalls selling spells, what do you think, Dao?" Haha. The middle-aged stall owner knew what Wei Hong meant. He smiled bitterly and waved his hand and said, Okay, in this case, you can take 65 spirit stones, is that okay?" The middle-aged stall owner looked like he was selling at a loss and vomiting blood, which almost made Wei Hong believe it. "How about this? Including the wind control technique just now, I will offer 115 spirit stones for the two spells, how about it?" Wei Hong cut it all the way with one knife. The spell he was interested in later was called Detection Technique. Its actual function is to release waves when casting spells, which can be used to detect enemies and situations within hundreds of meters around. Before reaching the foundation building stage and cultivating spiritual consciousness, such detection skills are still relatively practical. Just like the wind controlling skill, Wei Hong was attracted by it at first sight. When the middle-aged stall owner heard the price, his eyes almost popped out. "No, this is absolutely impossible. Two spells will cost at least 135 spirit stones. Taoist friend, don't be too harsh." He waved his hands vigorously while speaking, as if to express his determination. But Wei Hong ignored his reaction and bargained lightly. 135 is too high, and the wind controlling skill and the detection skill are not spells used in actual combat, let alone offensive spells. "Taoist friend, are you ashamed to ask such a high price?" "Don't say it, I'll give you 3 more spirit stones, how about 118? If you agree, I'll take the money right away. In order to bargain, Wei Hong directly caught the characteristics of these 2 spells and belittled them. The middle-aged stall owner immediately became anxious and said, "Fellow Taoist, if you don't understand, don't talk nonsense. Although the wind-controlling technique and the detection technique are not offensive spells, they are very useful whether you are escaping or investigating the situation. 118 is definitely not enough, it should be at least 113. Tisk." Wei Hong smiled coldly, as if he saw through the middle-aged stall owner's disguise. He bargained again, "Fellow Taoist, there is no need to say more. No matter how useful it is not an offensive spell. I can't sell it for the price you mentioned. So, let's each take a step back. How about 120? In fact, what Wei Hong said was not unreasonable. The wind-controlling technique and the detection technique were not offensive spells, so their prices would naturally be much lower than offensive spells. I believe the middle-aged stall owner also knew this. Seeing Wei Hong so determined, the middle-aged stall owner thought for a moment and sighed, "Well, how about this, fellow Taoist, let's take a step back and say 125. 120, then 120. No, I can't sell it at this price." Wei Hong bargained with the middle-aged stall owner for a while, and after a heated argument, he finally successfully bought the 2 spells at the price of 122 spirit stones. The middle-aged stall owner looked like he was losing money, but he was actually satisfied with the price. Wei Hong also thought it was okay, and the 2 reached a deal. "Here, this is 122 spirit stones, fellow Taoist, count them, and we'll pay and receive the goods." Wei Hong counted the spirit stones and handed them over, motioning to the middle-aged stall owner. "Hey, wait a moment, fellow Taoist." The middle-aged stall owner naturally understood what Wei Hong meant. He took out 2 jade slips and handed them over. "Fellow Taoist, please check them. If you have any questions, it's fine now. I won't be responsible after the payment is made." What the middle-aged stall owner took out was the entire content of the wind control technique and the detection technique. What he put on the stall for customers to view were just some brief introduction information, without any substantial content. This is why the stall owner can let customers view it with confidence. As for the real content of the spell, Wei Hong will naturally get it after confirming the purchase and paying. Chapter 414, The Secret Art of Exploding Spirits. "Fellow Taoist, you are quite straightforward." Wei Hong smiled and took the 2 jade slips. He was not polite and put the jade slips against his forehead. Soon, Wei Hong finished checking the 2 jade slips one by one. "Not bad, no problem, then our transaction is done." Wei Hong nodded to the middle-aged stall owner, took the jade slips and turned to leave. He had confirmed that there were no problems with the wind control technique and detection technique recorded in the 2 jade slips. "Very good, I have already got 2 more practical spells. Next, it would be better to buy an offensive spell or a spell that assists in attack." Wei Hong was strolling around again, thinking secretly in his heart. He originally planned to buy 3 to 4 ordinary spells, and now he has bought 2. According to his estimation, the remaining funds are only enough to support him to buy 1 more. Soon, Wei Hong came to a stall selling various spells. The stall owner this time was an old man who looked vigorous and full of energy. His face was rosy and his aura was very strong. He had reached the late stage of key training. Facing the old stall owner, Wei Hong politely asked, "Senior, can I see your spells?" "Yes, you can do whatever you want." The old stall owner seemed very kind and replied with a smile. Wei Hong nodded and squatted down again. Just like before, he began to check the types of spells. At this moment, there were more than 20 jade slips in front of him, which was much richer than the previous stall. Wei Hong wanted to broaden his horizons, so he kept looking at the jade slips one by one. Fireball spell. Windblade spell. Rock armor spell. Green wood entanglement spell. Water arrow spell. Flowing light sword spell. Wei Hong was dazzled by the spells, but at the same time his eyes became brighter and brighter. Among the more than 20 spells, there were only a few of the first-level low-grade spells, and the rest were all first-level middle-grade spells, and there were even a few first-level high-grade spells. The variety of spells surprised Wei Hong. Moreover, among these spells, Wei Hong found that the spells he wanted to find were all here. What a coincidence, isn't it? This saves me a lot of effort. Wei Hong felt a sense of surprise when he found that the spells he wanted to find were all here. Among the more than 20 spells, he was attracted to 3 in total, namely Greenwood Entanglement Technique, Flowing Light Sword Control Technique and Exploding Spirit Secret Technique. Among them, Greenwood Entanglement Technique is a wood attribute spell, which just fits his spiritual root. After casting the spell, it can summon a vine to entangle the enemy, which has the effect of binding and injuring the enemy. Flowing Light Sword Control Technique is a sword technique. After successfully practicing it, you can control the flying sword to fight, which doubles the power of the flying sword. As for the last Explosion Spirit Secret Art, it is a life-threatening spell. According to the description on the Jade Slip, after casting the Explosion Spirit Secret Art, the Danshan will be reversed, and the potential of the whole body will be stimulated, so as to burst out a strength far stronger than usual. Normally, after casting the Explosion Spirit Secret Art, the average cultivator can increase his strength by about 60% to 70%, and the duration is about half an incense stick. Moreover, after casting the Explosion Spirit Secret Art, the caster will fall into a state of severe injury with a Danshan exhausted and most of the meridians in the body broken. No one will use it unless it is a matter of life and death. In addition, Wei Hong also saw from the description in the Jade Slip that this Explosion Spirit Secret Art actually has an extreme state, which is to make the caster himself burst twice or even 3 times the usual terrible strength, but the price is also extremely serious. After casting the spell, the Danshan will be completely burst, and the meridians in the whole body will be broken. If there is no medical treatment, he will become a real useless person. When he saw this content introduction, his reaction was not shock, but ecstasy. This Soul Explosion Secret Art may be a life-threatening forbidden art that other cultivators can only use once in their lifetime, but for me, isn't it a super high explosive trump card? When Wei Hong thought of the extreme state that could be achieved after performing the Soul Explosion Secret Art, he was immediately ecstatic. Haha, this spell is simply a trump card tailor-made for me. It's just to burst the Danshan and cut off the meridians. As long as I have enough vitality points, there is no injury that cannot be recovered. This spell must be mastered. He had already made up his mind in his heart. Everything else was fine, but this Soul Explosion Secret Art must be mastered, no matter how many spirit stones it cost. Wei Hong was excited in his heart, but on the surface he remained calm and began to ask the price. Senior, how much are the Greenwood Entanglement Art and the Flowing Light Sword Control Art? Oh? Have you chosen? The old stall owner didn't expect Wei Hong to choose those 2 spells. He was surprised for a moment before answering. Greenwood Entanglement Art is 90 spirit stones, and Flowing Light Sword Control Art is 120 spirit stones. This price is much more expensive than the 2 spells just now. Especially the Flowing Light Sword Technique, which is a method of controlling airplanes. It is impossible to get a bargain. Wei Hong had already prepared for this. He thought about it and bargained directly. Senior, it's a bit expensive. How about this? I'll give you 75 spirit stones for the Greenwood Entanglement Technique and 100 spirit stones for the Flowing Light Sword Technique. Hey, young man, you can't bargain so hard. The old stall owner was not angry, but just waved his hand and said, I'll give you a discount of 5 spirit stones for the Greenwood Entanglement Technique and 110 for the Flowing Light Sword Technique. This is the bottom price, and you don't need to bargain anymore. Although the old man spoke kindly, he had a kind of majesty that could not be refuted. Obviously, he said it was the bottom price and he would not lower it any further. However, Wei Hong did not take up this topic, but suddenly asked, Senior, how much is the Exploding Spirit Secret Technique? After all, what Wei Hong valued most was the life-threatening forbidden technique. After all, he has vitality points that can recover any injuries for him. For other cultivators, this life-threatening secret technique is basically useless after using it once, but he can use it as a trump card, and it is a trump card that can be used regularly. This is self-evident for the improvement of Wei Hong's strength. As long as he can successfully master this Exploding Spirit Secret Technique, he will not necessarily be at a disadvantage even when facing a cultivator in the late stage of key training. The old stall owner was obviously confused by Wei Hong's transformation. He was stunned for a while before staring at Wei Hong and said, Hey, you kid are not trying to play tricks with me, are you? Senior, you are joking. What tricks can I play with you? Wei Hong smiled faintly. Besides, these spells are in your hands. I can't get them no matter how many tricks I play. That's true. The old stall owner glanced at Wei Hong again, and this time he slowly replied, "The exploding spirit secret technique is priced at 100 spirit stones, no bargaining." Obviously, he said this to completely dispel Wei Hong's idea of bargaining. Chapter 415, Aoki Entanglement Technique and Flowing Sword Technique. 100 spirit stones? No bargaining. Wei Hong's mouth twitched slightly after hearing this. This price was a little more expensive than he expected, and he couldn't bargain. However, this explosion spirit secret art was something he had to get, so he simply didn't waste his words. "Senior, then, you said that 100 spirit stones would be fine for the explosion spirit secret art, but I'll offer 180 for the greenwood entanglement art and the flowing light sword art. If you agree, I'll take all 3 spells. If you don't agree, then forget it." Although Wei Hong's face remained calm, his eyes revealed a hint of determination. Obviously, he was also telling the old stall owner his bottom line. The old stall owner narrowed his eyes, stared at Wei Hong for a few seconds, and then suddenly laughed and said, "Haha, okay, then it's the price you said. The 3 spells are priced at a total of 280 spirit stones." This price was not low, so the old stall owner naturally had no reason to refuse. Seeing that the old stall owner agreed, Wei Hong was also very happy. "Okay, senior, I don't have enough spirit stones on hand. Can I use the remaining talismans to pay for them?" Wei Hong smiled and looked at the old stall owner while taking out the money. He worked hard for a month to raise funds. Not only did he draw talismans every day and night, but he also took on a lot of formation tasks. Now, Wei Hong has more than 300 spirit stones and dozens of first-level medium-quality talismans. It is naturally impossible to pay all the money with spirit stones alone, so he needs to use talismans for barter. The old stall owner nodded and said, "Of course, but your talismans need to be verified by me before they can be traded, and the price of the talismans can only be calculated at 90% of the market price. Bartering is allowed, but the price is generally 10% higher." Wei Hong also understood this and nodded to indicate that there was no problem. Then he took out 180 spirit stones and more than 40 talismans and handed them to the old stall owner. The old stall owner was not polite and started to check immediately. After a while, the old stall owner looked up at Wei Hong and said, "No problem, these are all first-level medium-grade talismans. According to 90% of the market price, each one is counted as 2 spirit stones plus 20 broken spirits. You have 45 talismans here, so the total is counted as 100 spirit stones. Well, with these spirit stones, it's just enough. Hey, take a look too." After putting away the spirit stones and talismans, the old stall owner also took out 3 jade slips and handed them to Wei Hong. Wei Hong was not polite at all. He took the jade slips and started to check. After a while, he also opened his eyes with satisfaction. "Haha, not bad, there is no problem with the spell. In this case, senior, then our transaction is completed." The old stall owner nodded and said no more. Wei Hong also put away the jade slips and left. At this point, Wei Hong had basically got everything he wanted to buy. Originally, he wanted to take a look at magic tools such as spirit shields, but now he has no idea at all. Because just buying those spells cost Wei Hong more than 300 spirit stones, plus dozens of first-level medium-quality talismans, which almost emptied his entire fortune, making him penniless again. So now, let alone spirit shields, he couldn't even afford spirit rice and monster meat. Spirit stones, if you lose them, you can earn them again. These spells, especially the explosive spirit secret spell, are not easy to come across. If you miss it, it will be hard to find it. Wei Hong didn't care about his current situation of being penniless. Instead, when he thought of the spells he had just acquired, he couldn't help but feel secretly happy. As long as he successfully cultivated all those spells and then used vitality points to increase their realm, his combat power would soar again, and his safety would be greatly improved. When he thought of these, Wei Hong really felt that this trade fair was worthwhile. Let's go and have a look. This trade fair only happens once a year, so you can't miss it. Wei Hong put away his things and started to wander around with the idea of gaining more knowledge. This time, he would stop at every stall he passed by, and would look at something he was interested in for a while. Even if he didn't buy it, he would touch it or ask about it. At this time, Wei Hong was standing up from a stall. When he looked up, he suddenly saw more than a dozen monks gathered at a stall not far in front of him. Such scenes can be seen almost everywhere at the trade fair, but the difference is that among the more than 10 monks, only 4 people actually bought things, and they were 4 young monks wearing standard robes. In addition to these 4 young monks, the other 7 or 8 people just followed behind the 4 people, looking like followers, and it seemed that there was a clear class distinction. Wei Hong looked carefully, and his face changed slightly and said secretly, "Outer disciples of Qingyuan sect." Obviously, the 4 people should be the Xianjiao disciples of the outer sect of Qingyuan sect. It can be seen from the standard robes they are wearing. There is a clear mark of Qingyuan sect in the cuffs. The people behind them looked like they were either their followers or servants. They were obviously not in a high position. They were all flattering and fawning. They were typical lackeys. Most importantly, those lackeys were very good at taking advantage of others. When their masters were buying things, they warned the surrounding monks not to get close with a proud and indifferent look, which showed the 2 extremely opposite faces vividly. The 4 young Qingyuan sect's outer sect geniuses didn't care about the looks of the surrounding monks. They all maintained an arrogant and superior attitude. Occasionally looking around, their eyes also revealed disdain and contempt. The 4 of them did not approach the stall, but just sent a follower to talk to the stall owner. The 4 of them did not hide their cultivation. One reached the 8th level of key training, and the other 3 were all the 7th level of key training. Moreover, the aura on their bodies was extremely condensed, far beyond the reach of ordinary casual cultivators. Wei Hong was not far away, and at this time he heard a few words of conversation. "Fellow Taoist, how much do you want for this flying sword? If you really want it, give me 1,800 spirit stones." 1,800 spirit stones? That's not expensive, but what about the golden flame stone? The golden flame stone is priced at 900 spirit stones. The stall owner in front of the 4 Qingyuan sect's outer sect geniuses was a burly middle-aged man. His aura seemed to have reached the peak of key training, much stronger than the 4 people in front of him, so he did not seem to be humble or arrogant when facing the 4 Qingyuan sect's outer sect geniuses. As for the first flying sword that the 8th level key training genius asked about, it should be a first-class superb magic weapon, otherwise it would not be sold at a high price of 1,800 spirit stones. Such a price simply refreshed Wei Hong's understanding of prices. 1,800 spirit stones? Just to buy a flying sword. Hiss, what kind of wealth is this? Even if he was just watching from the side, Wei Hong couldn't help but be shocked by their conversation. Chapter 416 Tracking, Incident. Qingyuan sect outer sect. Trade fair. It seemed that word spread quickly, and many cultivators had seen Qingyuan sect disciples, so after hearing the news, they all crowded over to see the demeanor of Qingyuan sect disciples. The pomp and magnanimity of the 4 Qingyuan sect outer sect Xianjiao opened the eyes of many casual cultivators, and for a while they did not dare to get too close. Haha, the pomp and magnanimity are not small, but they are too arrogant and look down on everything. Wei Hong secretly commented in his heart. In fact, it was the first time for him to see such an outer sect Xianjiao, and the pomp of the Qingyuan sect outer sect Xianjiao's travel was indeed eye-opening. Especially the generous hand of the other party, which was thousands of spirit stones, made Wei Hong feel deeply moved. As expected of a sect disciple, he can easily make thousands of spirit stones with just a few moves. An ordinary casual cultivator probably can't earn that many spirit stones in his entire life, let alone save them. The resource gap between sect disciples and casual cultivators is really as huge as the difference between heaven and earth. Wei Hong sighed with infinite emotion, and then fell silent again. The slight complacency that he had felt before because of the purchase of several spells disappeared instantly, and he secretly warned himself not to be complacent easily. Because compared with the generous spending of those outer sect geniuses, Wei Hong's previous situation seemed quite stingy, which was simply not worth mentioning, so naturally he had no qualifications to be complacent. At this moment, Wei Hong's desire to improve his strength reached a new height. He knew that he still had a long way to go. Compared with the low-level casual cultivators, he did have a better life, but compared with those high-level casual cultivators or even the sect disciples, everything he had now was nothing at all. In a word, he still needed to work hard in the future. Just because I can't compare now doesn't mean I can't compare in the future. Cultivation is not about the present, but the future. After reflecting on himself, Wei Hong was full of confidence in his future. He had the system and the vitality points to help him. As long as he was given enough time, It would be a matter of time before he could catch up with or even surpass those sect disciples. Now he didn't need to belittle himself. Let's go down the mountain. After thinking this through, Wei Hong didn't look at the outer sect geniuses anymore, turned around and left, ready to go down the mountain and go home. He had already bought everything he wanted to buy, and he had seen it all, so there was no need to stay on the mountain and wander around. The most important thing was to bring those spells back safely. So Wei Hong went against the flow of people and started to go down the mountain. Although spending 200 or 300 spirit stones at this trade fair was nothing, Wei Hong was still subconsciously alert. He walked carefully along the way. On the surface, there was nothing abnormal, but his body was always in a tense state, ready to react at any time if he encountered an unexpected situation. In addition, there were several talismans in each of his sleeves. With a flick of the wrist, the talismans could be used. Fortunately, Wei Hong's preparations were not used, and no accidents occurred along the way. However, just when Wei Hong was about to breathe a sigh of relief, he suddenly caught a glimpse of a familiar figure in front of him. Hey, is that Wen Meng'en's Taoist partner Zhao Chang? Wei Hong narrowed his eyes and immediately recognized the man in front of him. Because he had met him some time ago, he could recognize him at a glance. The man was clearly the Taoist partner of his new neighbor Wen Meng'en, named Zhao Chang. Originally, Wei Hong was a little curious about Wen Meng'en's strange behavior of visiting everywhere before. However, many things happened later, and he did not meet Wen Meng'en and Zhao Chang again, so he gradually ignored their existence until he saw Zhao Chang again today. What is he doing? Wei Hong looked at Zhao Chang's slightly strange behavior and was quite confused for a while. Because Zhao Chang was not walking towards him at this time, but was going down the mountain like him. But in Wei Hong's opinion, Zhao Chang seemed to be quite sneaky at this time. In his sight, although Zhao Chang was going down the mountain alone, he was not walking fast, and from time to time he looked forward a few times, and from time to time he hid to the side of the mountain for a while, as if he was worried about being discovered. Such actions made Wei Hong almost think he had encountered a thief at a glance. This guy, is he following someone? Wei Hong frowned, but he guessed the truth at once. Seeing that Zhao Chang did not notice him, Wei Hong began to slow down his steps and followed Zhao Chang carefully, wanting to see what he was doing. Zhao Chang did not notice Wei Hong behind him, but focused on the front. After a while, when he came to a place with a wider view, Wei Hong saw that in front of Zhao Chang, there was an old man walking down the mountain slowly. Zhao Chang was not far from the old man, and if the old man in front was not alert, it would be difficult to find Zhao Chang. Sure enough, he is following the old man. Wei Hong muttered softly, but he was sure in his heart. Zhao Chang was definitely following the old man in front, otherwise he would not be so sneaky. Hey, why does the old man in front look familiar? Isn't he the elder of the Chen family who bought a large number of elixirs before? Wei Hong frowned even more deeply. Although he didn't see the face of the old man in front clearly, from the clothes, he did look like the man he saw at the trade fair just now. When he first strolled around the trade fair, Wei Hong was attracted by a special stall. It was a stall specializing in selling various elixirs, with more than 10 or 20 types of elixirs from the first grade low grade to the first grade high grade. At that time, an old man came. He was very generous and bought most of the elixirs on the stall at once, spending more than 1,000 spirit stones. Wei Hong was shocked by the old man's generosity, so he looked at the old man a few more times. After the old man left the stall, Wei Hong learned from the monks around him that the old man was the elder of a small immortal family near the market. He came to the trade fair to purchase resources for the family, and elixirs were just one of them. Now Wei Hong saw the clothes of the old man in front of him and recognized him at a glance. What's going on? Why did Zhao Chang follow the elder of the Chen family? Wei Hong was very confused. Although he didn't know the reason, Zhao Chang's behavior seemed to be ill-intentioned, so he raised his vigilance again and slowed down his pace. Forget it, it has nothing to do with me anyway, so it's better not to cause trouble. Wei Hong shook his head and decided not to meddle in other people's business. Chapter 417 Trap, Counterattack. The next day, Wei Hong walked out of the courtyard refreshed and prepared to go to the talisman workshop to draw talismans. Yesterday, he returned to the market without any trouble. During the trip, there were no accidents except for meeting Zhao Chang. In line with the principle of minding his own business, Wei Hong took a detour back to the market when he returned to the foot of the mountain, instead of continuing to follow Zhao Cheng, so as not to get himself into unnecessary trouble. However, when Wei Hong went out today, he found that the atmosphere in the market seemed a little strange. Along the way, many monks were whispering to each other, but their faces were a little nervous or worried. What happened? Why is the atmosphere in the market so tense? Wei Hong frowned and made a vague guess in his heart. He subconsciously thought of Zhao Cheng and the elder of the Chen family who was followed yesterday, and secretly guessed whether the changes in the market had anything to do with them. Wei Hong stopped and frowned for a while, but suddenly turned around and walked towards the General Affairs Hall. Haha, fellow Taoist Guan is here, are you here to take on another mission? After arriving at the General Affairs Hall, Wang Wenel, who had just seen Wei Hong, immediately greeted him enthusiastically. Haha, fellow Taoist Wang, I am not here to take on a mission today, but I have something I want you to help me with. Wei Hong politely bowed and directly explained his purpose. As a casual cultivator, he certainly did not have as much intelligence and sources of information as Wang Wenel and others. Therefore, he was too lazy to go to the market to listen to other people's discussions, but went directly to Wang Wenel. As a formation master, I believe Wang Wenel would be happy to share these gossips with him. As expected, Wang Wenel immediately smiled and said, Daoya Guan, you are too polite. Just ask whatever you want to know. Haha, don't worry, Daoya Wang, I will never make things difficult for you. Wei Hong smiled heartily, then asked, this is it. I noticed that the atmosphere in the market was a little wrong today. Many people seemed a little nervous. I don't know what happened. Can Daoya Wang tell me something? When Wang Wenel heard this, he immediately realized, so this is what Daoya Guan is asking about. Haha, then you have asked the right person. I really know the reason. Oh? I hope Daoya Wang will give me some advice. Wei Hong's eyes lit up, thinking to himself that he had indeed found the right person. Wang Wenel waved his hand, and then said seriously, fellow Taoist Guan is actually right. The atmosphere in the market today is indeed a little tense because Chen King, an elder of the Chen family, was killed by a robber cultivator. The threat of robber cultivators has reappeared, so many people in the market are worried about this issue. Sure enough, it is related to those two people yesterday. Could Zhao Cheng be a robber cultivator? When Wei Hong heard the news, he immediately confirmed his previous guess. The elder of the small Chen family had indeed been killed, but he didn't expect it to be the robber cultivator who did it. The elders of the Chen family were killed by the robber cultivators. Wei Hong frowned and asked, what's going on? It's still during the trade fair, how dare those robber cultivators be so rampant? Who said it's not? Wang Wenel was also a little puzzled, but still explained, in fact, it's not just the Chen family. The three families near the market have suffered many casualties, and Chen King of the Chen family is just the primary target of the robber cultivators, and ultimately failed to escape. The real cause of this incident, in fact, dates back to a few months ago. 4 or 5 months ago, many businesses of the three immortal cultivation families of Chen, Zhou and Li around the market were greatly affected by the unscrupulous hunting of the robber cultivators. At the same time, some members of their three families also suffered from the murderous hands of the robber cultivators. After that, the three families of Chen, Zhou and Li hated the Blood Eagle gang outside the market. At this point, Wang Wenel paused before continuing, because the losses were too great. The three families began to unite and wanted to secretly plan an ambush to catch their enemies in one fell swoop. Wei Hong suddenly had an idea and interrupted, asking, then Chen King was the trap set by the three families? Was he the bait they deliberately released? Haha, Brother Guan really hit the nail on the head. Admiration appeared in Wang Wenel's eyes, and then he nodded and said, yes, Chen King was the bait released by the three families. Their original intention was to set up a trap to kill the Blood Eagle gang. Then when this trade fair started, Chen King deliberately showed off his wealth and bought a large number of resources at the trade fair, including elixirs and magic weapon materials, so he was immediately targeted by the ears and eyes of the robbers. But the three Chen families didn't expect that while they were setting up the trap, they also stepped into the trap set by the other party. Chen King originally wanted to lure out all the members of the GXIU and capture them all in one fell swoop, but who knew that the GXIU was much stronger than they imagined, and even had a leader in the early stage of foundation building to support them. The result is not hard to imagine. The large group of people gathered by the three families was counterattacked by the Blood Eagle gang and was killed in pieces. Chen King was killed on the spot, and the rest of the people were either dead or injured. The few who survived also fled in panic. The casualties were extremely heavy. Wang Wenel said with a serious face, and he had a deeper impression of the strength and cruelty of the GXIU. Even as an unrelated person, hearing about these cruel atrocities of the GXIU still made him angry. Wei Hong's face was also full of solemnity. He frowned and thought for a while. So, the three families of Chen, Zhou and Li should be considered seriously injured this time, right? That group of robbers committed such a serious crime, but there is still no reaction from Qingyuan sect. Who said it's not? Wang Wenel said with a sigh, I heard that the three families were directly injured, and the patriarchs of the three families were so scared that they recalled most of their clansmen overnight and opened the clan protection array. They even sent people to cry to Qingyuan sect, hoping that Qingyuan sect could send people to wipe out that group of robbers. As for Qingyuan sect, there has been no reaction yet. Wei Hong sighed softly when he heard this, and said nothing more. Who would have thought that the three small immortal cultivation families were almost removed from the immortal cultivation world because of a group of robbers? Even the immortal cultivation families suffered such a big loss, and now they dare not even think of revenge. If it were ordinary casual cultivators, wouldn't they be eaten by the robbers? Wei Hong could think of this, and other independent cultivators could naturally think of it as well. Perhaps, this was the reason why the atmosphere in the market became tense again. As long as the group of robbers outside the market was not wiped out, the independent cultivators in the market would be worried, so much so that they would never dare to leave the market again, lest they end up dead. Chapter 418 People are in panic. During this turbulent period, people are in a panic. Wang Wenel sighed, feeling helpless about the problem of robbery. Wei Hong nodded in agreement. It was indeed as Wang Wenel said, the atmosphere in the market was becoming more and more tense, and there was a sense of panic, but no one came forward to solve the problem. Even the dominant sect in this area, Qingyuan sect, did not react at all, which made people feel very confused. You know, even if the robbery was not aimed at their Qingyuan sect disciples, the Qingyuan mountain market was at the foot of Qingyuan sect, and they had a lot of industries here. If the robbery was allowed to wreak havoc, the losses caused would not be a little bit. It would even have a bad impact on the reputation of Qingyuan sect. After all, this was their territory. Wei Hong guessed that perhaps Qingyuan sect should also take action. Fellow Taoist Wang, if that's the case, then I'll go back first. Thank you for your help. Wei Hong bowed to Wang Wenel. Haha, Guandao Iao are too polite. Wang Wenel waved his hand indifferently, and then reminded him, there's indeed some unrest outside the market recently. Guandao Iao should not leave the market if you don't have anything important to do recently. Okay, Guan understands. Wei Hong thanked him and turned to leave the General Affairs Hall. As expected, after leaving the General Affairs Hall, Wei Hong really felt a tense atmosphere of panic. He thought about it, found a hidden corner to change back to his original appearance, and then went to the talisman-making workshop. Just as he thought, there were all kinds of discussions inside the talisman-making workshop at this time. Have you heard? The three nearby mortal cultivation families are all going to be exterminated by the robbers. Impossible? I only heard that many of them were killed, but I didn't hear that they were exterminated. Even the elders of the clan were killed. What's the difference between this and exterminating the family? Do you think we can still go out of this market? If we really go out, I'm afraid we will die, right? As soon as he entered the talisman-making workshop, all kinds of shocking or worried remarks kept drilling into Wei Hong's ears. Even the people in the talisman workshop were panicking. Wei Hong sighed secretly and prepared to return to his talisman drawing room. However, at this time, 3 bells rang from inside the talisman workshop, instantly making everyone quiet down. The manager is calling for help? What's going on? Let's go and take a look. Let's go. The bells have rung. It seems that our manager has something to announce. Facing the bells of the talisman workshop, everyone started to move. Wei Hong had a flash of doubt in his mind, but he followed everyone to a spacious hall without hesitation. Their new manager Yanfen was already sitting on a chair deep in the hall, looking at everyone expressionlessly. When the people who heard the sound saw the face of the manager Yanfen, they were all silent, not daring to say anything, and they all found a place to stand. After everyone was present, Yanfen slowly stood up. He scanned the crowd with dignity and said coldly, there have been a lot of rumors in the market these past 2 days, saying all kinds of things. Even our talisman workshop is talking about it. I know what you are worried about and what you are thinking. I summoned you here today to announce a piece of news to you. That is, our sect has issued a clearing mission in the mission hall of the outer sect. The Blood Eagle will be completely cleared and killed in the near future. Then you can all leave the market without worrying about it. You will never be threatened by the robbery cultivators again. I hope everyone can put their minds at ease and work hard without any worries. Do you understand? As expected by Wei Hong, King Iron Sect finally took action. As long as King Iron Sect is willing to take action, a group of robbery cultivators will naturally not be able to jump around anymore. Everyone knows the significance of King Iron Sect's action, so they were overjoyed when they heard the news. Manager Yan, is this true? Did King Iron Sect really issue a task? Haha, that's great, the sect finally took action. Yes, Manager Yan, I wonder if anyone has accepted the task. The dem robbers are finally going to be wiped out, and we can finally enter and exit the market normally. Everyone present cheered. Yan Feng's face was cold, but he understood everyone's reaction, so he didn't stop anything, but watched quietly. After everyone quieted down, he continued, this is absolutely true, you don't have to think too much, disperse, go to work. Yes. At this moment, the worries of everyone in the talisman workshop were swept away. The news announced by Yan Feng also directly calmed people's hearts, and did not let the outside world affect the operation of the talisman workshop. Wei Hong was secretly delighted in his heart. Not bad, the King Iron Sect is finally willing to take action. As long as the Blood Eagles are wiped out, I can find a chance to go to the Spider Valley again. Without the threat of the robbery cultivators, he can naturally go to harvest vitality points again. Wei Hong was very satisfied with this timely news. He believed that as long as the King Iron Sect issued the task, it would not take long for someone to accept the task, because for those sect disciples, a group of robbery cultivators was simply a gift of merit points and windfall, and there was no reason not to accept it. I hope the King Iron Sect's geniuses will wipe them out as soon as possible. I still have many spells waiting to be fed, and I can't do without vitality points. Relatively speaking, Wei Hong hoped that a group of robbery cultivators outside would be wiped out earlier than others. Because he had not gone out to harvest vitality points for more than half a year, all thanks to the Blood Eagle. If he could obtain a batch of vitality points every 2 months, his development would be faster, and his strength would be improved more rapidly. He would not be so timid and unable to do anything he wanted to do. You know, he has just obtained several spells. As long as there are enough vitality points, he can quickly improve the realm of those spells. By then, Wei Hong's combat power will increase again. His realm of the water mist array can also be improved to above the great success. At that time, he will be more handy whether it is repairing the array or setting up the array. In short, vitality points are related to all of Wei Hong's development. Wait a little longer, wait until everything calms down. Wei Hong suppressed his joy. Now is not the time yet. He plans to pay more attention to the information from the outside world in the future. As for now, it is naturally time to draw talismans well. Wei Hong no longer thought more about it and walked straight into the talisman drawing room. After all, thinking too much is useless. He can't do anything except drawing talismans now, so Wei Hong is very clear-headed and does what he should do. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419. A glimpse of the whole picture. Chaos and tension seemed to have silently enveloped the sky above the King Iron Mountain market. Wei Hong could clearly sense what kind of turbulent waves would be under the surface of the water that was barely keeping calm. For this reason, he began to stay at home more and less. Every day, apart from drawing talismans, he would stay in the courtyard to practice. He would never step out of the courtyard unless it was important. He even put the formation task on hold and never went to the General Affairs Hall again. That night, Wei Hong took out all the spells and sword techniques that he had bought with most of his wealth, and prepared to practice them well. The first level middle grade spell Wind Control was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/100. The first level middle grade spell Detection was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/100. The first level middle grade spell Green Wood Entanglement was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/100, Ling. The first level middle grade sword art Li Guang Yu Jianshu was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/100, Ling. The first level middle grade forbidden art explosive spirit secret art was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is 1/100. The system quickly recorded all those spells, allowing him to quickly get started. However, Wei Hong did not have too many vitality points on hand, so he had no way to improve the realm of those spells for the time being. It's a pity that I can't test the power and effect of several spells here, and I can't go out for the time being. After Wei Hong practiced all the spells briefly and got started, he sighed slightly. Because the independent courtyard where he lived was really small, he couldn't do anything he wanted to do, so he couldn't practice several spells here at all. At the same time, it was not safe outside the market now, and he couldn't go to the mountains and forests to test the power and effect of spells like before, so he could only suppress it and wait for the robbery repair incident to subside. Fortunately, Wei Hong did not gain nothing. Although several spells were only at the entry level, he could roughly feel that his combat power had been improved again. Apart from other things, just one sword technique was enough to fully exert the power of the flying sword. It's worth it for me to pay so many spirit stones. This feeling of improved combat power really made Wei Hong addicted. The only problem that made him dissatisfied was that he could not harvest vitality points for the time being. Now there was some chaos inside and outside the market, and there were dangers everywhere outside the market. Wei Hong would naturally not leave the market in a short time, so he could not take advantage of the chaos to go to the Spider Valley to brush vitality points. In this way, Wei Hong lost the way to improve his magic realm. In addition, it seemed that the market was not safe now. In order to deal with possible unexpected situations, he could not use up all the vitality points he had left, and he had to keep them for emergencies. Thinking of this, Wei Hong sighed slightly and said, "Forget it, let's practice well. It's too chaotic outside now. It's good to be able to strengthen our strength a little." Suppressing the distracting thoughts in his heart, he began to concentrate on practicing. Half a month later. Since the manager Yan Feng announced the news half a month ago, the minds of all the workers in the Talisman workshop have been appeased. Everyone worked diligently as usual, and was not affected by the outside world at all. They seemed to be full of blind confidence in King Guyan sect, and they were not worried at all that King Guyan sect would not be able to wipe out the Blood Eagle gang. But Wei Hong was full of doubts about this, and this doubt became stronger and stronger as time went by. Because he could clearly feel that the atmosphere in the market was not only not calmed down, but became more and more tense, and even the number of monks walking in the market was slowly decreasing. All of this showed that the situation outside the market was not getting better, but should be getting worse, at least Wei Hong thought so. As the saying goes, a glimpse of the whole leopard can reveal the whole picture, and Wei Hong still has this observation ability. It seems that the Blood Eagle is definitely not a simple robbery cultivator, otherwise King Guyan sect would not have failed to wipe it out until now. Wei Hong secretly made his own judgment in his heart. His earlier thought that as long as King Guyan sect was willing to take action, the Blood Eagle would immediately be wiped out. Now it seems that the Blood Eagle gang is clearly not a simple robbery cultivator. King Guyan sect is such a large sect, but it has not been able to completely wipe it out for such a long time. Wei Hong felt uneasy in his heart, and it began to spread uncontrollably. However, this was all Wei Hong's personal speculation, and he did not show any abnormality on the surface. Today was the same, and he went to the talisman workshop to draw talismans as usual. However, when he just entered the talisman workshop and was about to go to the talisman drawing room, he inadvertently caught a glimpse of a familiar back. Although the back in front of the left flashed by, Wei Hong still caught it. He narrowed his eyes slightly, and a trace of suspicion flashed in his eyes. Because that back reminded him of a person who had appeared frequently recently. It shouldn't be. How could he appear here? With just a quick glance, Wei Hong didn't dare to make a hasty conclusion. He thought about it, and then quickened his pace to chase after him. He hoped that he was just overthinking, but if it was really what he thought, then the back figure was indeed the person he had seen before, and it would be difficult to stay in this talisman workshop. Wei Hong quickly chased forward for a while, and saw the slightly familiar back figure again. It was a strange man wearing the clothes of a skinning apprentice. He was not tall and his appearance was very ordinary. He was not noticeable in the crowd. But Wei Hong could see at a glance that the man's face was clearly disguised. It's him. He actually sneaked into the talisman workshop. What is he doing? Wei Hong stared at the man's back and face, and scanned him twice secretly. He was sure in his heart that the man was Zhao Cheng, whom he had seen before. He would never mistake Zhao Cheng's back. He stared at him for a long time when he came down from the trade fair before. Although Zhao Cheng, who was now mixed in the crowd, had changed his appearance and aura, Wei Hong still recognized his identity at a glance. Because Wei Hong was proficient in the art of disguise, Zhao Cheng's disguise method seemed a little rough to him, so he saw through it at once. Coupled with a familiar back, he recognized Zhao Cheng's identity directly. Zhao Cheng's appearance surprised him. However, it was the appearance of Zhao Cheng after the disguise that made Wei Hong feel horrified. Could it be that the robbery cultivators outside have already set their eyes on the talisman workshop? Wei Hong couldn't help but have such a shocking thought in his mind. Chapter 420, Making Things Difficult. Watching Zhao Cheng slowly walking away among a group of skinners, Wei Hong stopped thinking. If he didn't know Zhao Cheng's identity before the trade fair, he should have guessed it after the trade fair even if he was slow. Zhao Cheng must be a spy of the robbery cultivators or a member of the Blood Eagle gang. Only in this way can Zhao Cheng's tracking of Chen King really make sense. Wei Hong originally thought that after the Qinghai sect began to take action, the Blood Eagles would soon be wiped out, and he would never see Zhao Cheng again. Who knew that he would see him inside the talisman workshop now? And he changed his identity with a disguise. I'm afraid the matter here is not simple. Wei Hong sighed in his heart. Now that he has learned Zhao Cheng's true identity, and thinking about the various things that have happened recently, it is not difficult for Wei Hong to guess that the robbery cultivators have definitely set their sights on the talisman workshop. This is a bit funny. The talisman workshop has become the center of the vortex. Wei Hong shook his head, feeling helpless and distressed. He has realized that there is definitely a terrible storm about to break out here. The talisman workshop is the center of the storm. If he continues to stay here, he will most likely be torn to pieces by the storm. What should I do? Wei Hong was confused and hesitant. Should I leave here immediately? But how should I leave? What reason should I leave? He has signed a spiritual contract with the talisman workshop, so it is not easy to leave the talisman workshop. But if he does not leave, the storm that is about to break out makes Wei Hong feel terrified. Forget it, let's take it one step at a time. Wei Hong was still undecided at this time. After thinking about it, he went straight to the talisman painting room. However, before he reached the talisman painting room, a servant from the talisman painting workshop stopped Wei Hong. Master Wei Fu, please wait a moment. A servant in a gray robe waved at Wei Hong. Wei Hong looked up at the voice and asked calmly, "What's the matter?" "It's like this, Master Wei, these are the talismans you handed in." The servant stared at Wei Hong's face carefully, and then said softly, "Manager Yan said that half of the talismans you drew are of poor quality, and some are unqualified. You need to draw them again." "Unqualified? Are you sure?" Wei Hong's face turned cold in an instant, and he stared at the servant expressionlessly. This was not the first time such a thing happened. The previous 2 times made him quite embarrassed and annoyed. He was naturally clear about the talismans he drew, and there was absolutely no way that the talismans he handed in would be unqualified. Hearing this news, Wei Hong couldn't help but get angry in his heart. "Master Wei." The servant wiped the cold sweat from his forehead with a pale face, and then explained with a forced smile, "This is what Manager Yan said in person. He just ordered me to return these talismans to you. I don't know anything else." The servant's hands holding the talismans began to tremble slightly. Wei Hong stared at him expressionlessly for a while, then took the talismans and said coldly, "Okay, tell Manager Yan that I know." The other party was just an errand boy, so he would not take his anger out on others. Yes, thank you, Master Wei Fu." The boy thanked him and ran away as if he had been pardoned. Wei Hong looked at the more than 100 talismans in his hand, frowning. This is the 3rd time. Every time he says that the talismans I handed in are of poor quality and unqualified. What does he want to do? Is he targeting me? Wei Hong was very puzzled and didn't understand what the new manager was up to. If the talismans he drew were really of poor quality, he would admit it, but the talismans he drew had no problem at all. It would be fine once or twice, but today was the 3rd time. Every time he handed in half of the talismans, the reason was that the quality was poor and unqualified. He suspected that the new manager was deliberately targeting him and making things difficult for him. Wei Hong's anger was growing stronger and stronger, and he wanted to throw the talisman at Yanfeng's face. But when he thought of Yanfeng's status in Qingyuan sect, he had to endure it. He thought about it, and then came to Ding Liu's talisman painting room. Beep. Wei Hong knocked on the door of Ding Liu's talisman painting room. "Hey, fellow Taoist Wei." When he opened the door and saw that it was Wei Hong, Lu Feng was quite surprised. "Fellow Taoist Lu, did I disturb you from painting talismans?" Wei Hong smiled lightly. "Of course not." Lu Feng opened the door and invited him, "Come in and sit down, you haven't been here for a while." "Then I'm sorry to bother you today." Wei Hong was not polite and walked in directly. The first person he met after arriving at the talisman painting workshop was Lu Feng, and Lu Feng was also the one he was most familiar with. Moreover, Lu Feng was quite a know-it-all, so Wei Hong wanted to ask him about it. After they sat down, Lu Feng poured tea for Wei Hong and asked in a familiar manner, "Tell me, what do you want to talk to me about?" Based on his understanding of Wei Hong would definitely come to him for no reason. Wei Hong did not hide anything. After taking a sip of tea, he asked directly, "Daoilv, half of the talismans I submitted recently were rejected every time. Manager Yan said that the talismans I drew were of poor quality and unqualified. Today is the third time. I wonder if Daoilv knows why this is? Has Daoilv encountered the same situation?" "Daoilv, you were rejected 3 times. Upon hearing this, Lu Feng looked at Wei Hong with an extremely surprised look, and then smacked his lips and said, "To be honest, I was rejected once before, but this situation never happened again." "Daoilv, do you know why?" "Daoilv, if I knew, I would not come to ask you." Wei Hong smiled bitterly and shook his head. That's because I gave that steward Yan 50 spirit stones. Since then, the talismans I handed in have never been returned. Fellow Taoist Wei, you should understand, right?" Lu Feng gave Wei Hong a look that everyone understood, and at the same time, he also solved the doubts in Wei Hong's heart. Is this the reason? Although he understood, Wei Hong was still a little stunned. He didn't expect that he would be deliberately targeted and made things difficult just because he didn't pay tribute to the new steward. This made Wei Hong laugh and cry. However, Lu Feng seemed to see through Wei Hong's thoughts. He said slowly, "It's that simple. In fact, Steward Yan is not deliberately targeting and making things difficult for you, but making things difficult for all the talisman painters who don't pay tribute to him. In simple terms, if you don't give benefits, you will be targeted and made things difficult, and no one will be an exception. So that's it, this is the reason." Wei Hong smiled bitterly and shook his head, feeling extremely helpless about the actions of Steward Yan Feng. Chapter 421 Tit for Tat. Seeing Wei Hong's depressed and helpless face, Lu Feng found it a little funny. He pointed at Wei Hong and said, "Friend Wei, you are too straightforward. It's not that you don't know how to adapt, but that you don't bother to adapt, so you are like this now." After being in the talisman workshop for so long, Lu Feng knew Wei Hong quite well. They were quite familiar with each other, so they didn't hesitate to talk to each other. Without waiting for Wei Hong to respond, Lu Feng said quietly, "In fact, since Manager Yan took office, he has already hinted at it. Recently, he has been secretly accepting various bribes and benefits. I don't know if you really don't know or you are too focused on drawing talismans. More than 3 months ago, Manager Yan gave us some advice. Anyone who offered him benefits would be more relaxed when checking the talismans, and the talismans submitted would basically pass the inspection. I realized this after being rejected once. For those who didn't give him any benefits, such as you, fellow Taoist Wei, the talismans you submitted would be deliberately blocked, or even deliberately made difficult, and then half of them would be directly returned to you to draw again. But I didn't expect that fellow Taoist Wei would be rejected 3 times. To be honest, after listening to LV's advice once, we should bow our heads. We still have to bow our heads. Who told us that he has a strong relationship?" Lu Feng didn't forget to give some kind advice at the end. However, after Wei Hong learned the truth of the whole thing, he fell silent in an uncharacteristic way. Seeing this, Lu Feng hurriedly advised again, "Friend Wei, you don't need to be angry about this. It's just a little benefit. Just think of it as taking 1 month less salary. After all, we are going to work here forever. Why go against the manager, right?" It must be said that LV Feng is really loyal. But Wei Hong did not respond to this question. Instead, he frowned and asked, "Do other talisman masters have any opinions about Manager Yan doing this? It's obvious that he is taking benefits. Isn't he worried at all?" "Yes, there are many opinions." LV Feng curled his lips and sneered, "But are many opinions useful? Don't forget that we have all signed a spiritual contract. No one can leave the talisman workshop without canceling the spiritual contract. If we don't leave the talisman workshop, we will always be suppressed by Manager Yan. What can we do if we have opinions? Will it affect Manager Yan at all? Besides, he has connections in Qinghai sect. What can he worry about?" LV Feng actually saw through it very well, so he immediately gave benefits after his talisman was returned once. A powerful dragon cannot suppress a local snake, and Wei Hong also understands this. Moreover, they are not powerful dragons yet. At best they are just bigger ants, and it is very unrealistic to want to fight with a steward, just as Lu Feng said. But Wei Hong was still extremely depressed and even very angry. However, he did not show it in front of Lu Feng, but sighed helplessly, "I know the good intentions of Dao Ayalu, don't worry, I know what to do." "Haha, Dao Ayalu understands, come, have some tea." Seeing this, Lu Feng said no more. Wei Hong chatted with him for a few more words, and then said goodbye and left. After returning to his talisman painting room, he sat on the chair with a gloomy face. It turns out that it is not targeting me, but targeting all the talisman masters who did not give him benefits. Haha, this is really impatient. Wei Hong sneered secretly, and was very disgusted with the behavior of the steward Yan Feng. He thought about it and decided not to draw the talismans anymore. "You said the talismans I drew were of poor quality? Fine, I'll keep them if you return them, and I'll consider them as my hard work fee." He was no longer prepared to redraw the talismans, and he was not prepared to endure this kind of shabby and annoying thing any longer. Let's see what other talisman masters say. Wei Hong took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. When it was noon, he came to the kitchen early and waited. When more than 20 talisman masters sat down to eat, Wei Hong's ears began to perk up. Sure enough, after a while, several talisman masters began to complain in a low voice. A talisman master named Zhu Ziqiang was so angry that he couldn't help but poke the bottom of the bowl with a chopstick, and then said angrily, "Why? What on earth does he have the right to do that? I can guarantee that the talismans I draw will never be sold at the market, and no one will say that my talismans are not up to standard. What right does he have to say that?" As he spoke, Zhu Ziqiang seemed to be still unsatisfied, and he poked the bottom of the bowl with chopsticks, making a beeping sound. Wei Hong guessed that this Zhu Ziqiang might have been rejected several times like him. This was like a signal, and instantly made others complain. Who said it wasn't? Master Tao Hong couldn't help but complain, "I've been rejected 3 times, and every time they said the quality of the talismans I drew was too poor and unqualified. What the hell is wrong with this? It's all the same. Who lets him have strong connections? Whatever he says is true. Bullshit. Can you take bribes just because you have strong connections? Will he make things difficult for us if we don't give you benefits? How can that make sense? He's trying to force us to death, damn it, he doesn't treat us as human beings, right? Now we only get that little salary a month, and we have to pay him tribute. What will we eat and drink after we pay him?" Following Zhu Ziqiang's lead, other talisman masters also wailed and cursed, or complained continuously. In short, they had a lot of opinions and deep resentment. Wei Hong, who had been listening quietly at the side, finally nodded with satisfaction. Sure enough, he was not the only one who was dissatisfied. It was also the opinions and complaints of other talisman masters that made Wei Hong's mind start to become active. Since Yan Feng took office, the amount of basic tasks has doubled, from 180 to 360. As a result, the profit margins of all talisman masters have been squeezed, so that we can only get basic wages and not much commission. That's fine, but now Yan Feng, that bastard, is secretly taking bribes and targeting us if we don't get benefits. Isn't this forcing us to death? I originally stayed in the talisman workshop to earn more spirit stones, but now it's good, I can't even earn spirit stones, can I still stay here? Wei Hong's thoughts began to become more and more firm. Because he saw clearly that staying in the talisman workshop now can neither earn spirit stones nor get commissions, and at the same time he has to endure the new manager's anger. How can he continue to do this? Why should he continue to be angry here? The most important thing is that the talisman workshop is about to become a vortex. It's not safe here anymore, and there will be no chance if he doesn't get out. Since seeing Zhao Cheng in disguise this morning, Wei Hong has already thought about leaving. Yanfeng's provocation and targeting could be said to be the last straw that broke the camel's back, prompting Wei Hong to make up his mind without any hesitation. Chapter 422 Furious. Leave here, I absolutely cannot continue to work here. Wei Hong had such a firm thought in his mind, and he had made up his mind at the same time. After thinking about it for a while, he decided to stay away from the talisman workshop. The appearance of Zhao Cheng has always covered his heart with a layer of haze and uneasiness, which is completely lingering. It can be said that continuing to work in the talisman workshop will not get any benefits, but will be drawn into the vortex. Unfortunately, no matter how these people complain, they dare not leave the talisman workshop. Looking around at the complaining talisman painters, Wei Hong sighed secretly in his heart. They all signed a spiritual contract with the talisman workshop, and they dared not leave the workshop before the spiritual contract was lifted. With the constraints of the spiritual contract, these talisman painters only complained a few words. If they really followed Wei Hong, they would definitely be regarded as fools. But Wei Hong did not intend to care about what others did, and he would not be stupid enough to remind others. Just as various thoughts emerged in his mind, a figure suddenly appeared outside the kitchen door. All the complaints stopped in an instant. The talisman masters who were eating saw the figure appearing at the door, and they were all silent. They buried their heads in eating and dared not say another word. Wei Hong narrowed his eyes and immediately saw the identity of the person who came. It was the new steward they had been discussing, Yanfeng. Why are you all silent? Yanfeng walked into the kitchen with a cold smile on his face, and slowly scanned everyone. Weren't you all very talkative just now? Why are you silent now? If you have any opinions, just tell me directly. What, are you afraid that I will hear it? Huh? Yanfeng stared at Zhu Ziqiang and others with his sharp eyes like a hawk. It was Zhu Ziqiang and others who complained the loudest just now, and now naturally they were the first to be stared at by Yanfeng. Zhu Ziqiang smiled awkwardly, but still didn't say anything. No one knew why Yanfeng suddenly appeared in the kitchen, but when they thought that all the words just now were heard by Yanfeng, Zhu Ziqiang and others regretted it and hated themselves for not being able to control their mouths. However, at this moment, Wei Hong looked at Yanfeng with a sneer on his face. Manager Yan, if we were really afraid that you would hear us, we wouldn't have said it. Besides, if you dare to do it, why don't we dare to say it? Swish. More than 20 pairs of eyes stared at Wei Hong. No one expected that Wei Hong would dare to offend Yanfeng at this time. Didn't you see that the other talisman masters were trembling with fear and dared not speak? How dare he? This was the strong doubt in the hearts of Zhu Ziqiang and others, so they looked at Wei Hong with shock and admiration at this time. Yanfeng's face turned cold instantly. He looked at Wei Hong with dignity. Oh? Then tell me what I did. Come on, tell me. Wei Hong ignored Yanfeng's threatening face, pretending to be majestic. He stood up and said directly, secretly accepting bribes, forcing people to confess, and deliberately making things difficult if they don't give benefits. Is this enough? Do you want me to continue? How dare you? Yanfeng was so angry that his beard trembled. He pointed at Wei Hong and scolded him sternly. Who do you think you are? You dare to spit blood and slander me here, and you dare to put things on my head without any basis. Do you believe that I will make you not get paid for a year? Furious. In Wei Hong's opinion, Yanfeng was clearly angry. In fact, Yanfeng himself did not expect that someone would jump out to challenge His Majesty at this time. Moreover, Wei Hong exposed the fact that he accepted bribes, which naturally made Yanfeng very angry. Oh, no evidence? Everyone present knows about this. Don't you know how much benefit you have taken? Wei Hong looked straight at Yanfeng without fear, and said firmly, you are making things difficult for us without giving us any benefits, saying that our talismans are not up to standard, right? You can ask at the market. If anyone says that the talismans I draw are not up to standard, I am willing to redraw them all, and I can also provide the materials myself. If not, why do you say that the talismans I draw are not up to standard every time? Isn't it just to ask us for benefits? Anyway, he has made up his mind to stay away from the talisman workshop, so naturally he doesn't want to see Yanfeng's face again. What's more, he chose to stand up and be the first bird to speak out, because he didn't want to be angry again. Even if he wants to leave here, he has to vent his anger before leaving. So Wei Hong didn't care about Yanfeng's face at all, and chose to tear his face with him directly. His words completely enraged Yanfeng. "Asshole, I said your talisman is not qualified, so it is not qualified. Are you the manager or am I the manager? Ah. A mere talisman painter, can you think of yourself as a big shot? Remember this, I have the final say here, and it is not your turn to point fingers. If you can do it, do it. If you can't, get out." Since Wei Hong didn't give him face, Yanfeng would naturally not be polite to him anymore. Yanfeng scolded and yelled at Wei Hong. If he hadn't taken into account the presence of everyone, he might have wanted to beat Wei Hong to death. It was originally a good thing, but Wei Hong directly brought it to the table, which made Yanfeng feel extremely embarrassed. It is true that he secretly accepted bribes, but was he wrong? He took great pains to get himself into the talisman workshop, wasn't it just to make money? He took a new position, isn't it normal for the people below to pay tribute to him? Isn't it right for those who don't pay tribute to him to be made difficult? Besides, he also hinted that those people had been playing dumb. If everyone could be like Lu Feng and the others, how could such a thing happen now? For a moment, all kinds of thoughts flashed through Yanfeng's mind. The anger caused by the fact that the matter was exposed became more and more vigorous. He even began to plan how to make things difficult for Wei Hong. But the next moment, Wei Hong's actions made him stunned instantly. If you don't want to do it, then don't do it. I don't want to stay in such a workshop. Whoever wants to do it can do it. I won't serve you. Wei Hong smiled coldly, then turned around and left. If you don't leave now, when will you leave? If you don't seize such a good opportunity, it will not be so easy to leave in the future. Wei Hong knew everything in his heart, and he had already thought clearly about the decision he made. He is not a rash young man who only acts rashly, nor is he a white man who knows nothing. In fact, he chose to tear his face with Yanfeng in public, not only to take the opportunity to leave the talisman workshop, but also to let people know about this matter so that he would be completely ignored. A bunch of fools, just wait for death. Wei Hong sneered in his heart, but he had no sympathy. When he chose to leave in anger, the gloom and anxiety in his heart finally dissipated a lot. Wei Hong knew that he had made the right choice this time. Chapter 423 The first bird to stand out will be bitten back. Silence. Deathly silence. In the kitchen, everyone looked at each other, looking at the back figure who left with a wave of sleeves. Their eyes were also filled with confusion and astonishment. As if they were hit by a fatal point, all the more than 20 talisman masters dared not breathe. I don't know whether they were frightened by Wei Hong's action, or they were afraid of irritating their steward. Because at this time, Yanfeng also said nothing, his eyes revealed a terrifying cold light, staring at Wei Hong's back, like an angry lion, wanting to choose someone to bite. No one expected that Wei Hong would really quit if he said he would not do it. Such courage. Such courage. Who else has it except Wei Hong? You know, they have all signed a spiritual contract with the talisman workshop. As long as the spiritual contract is not lifted for one day, they will be bound by the spiritual contract for one day. Everyone understands this truth, and they will not joke about their lives in future. But Wei Hong dared to do this, how could it not shock people? What did he say? What did he say just now? After a moment, Yanfeng finally reacted, and then roared with a face full of anger, how dare he? Ah! Yanfeng was obviously very angry, and even his beard trembled slightly because of his anger. It can be said that Wei Hong was like a slap in his face. Especially in front of so many talisman masters, he directly walked away and completely tore his face with him, which made Yanfeng feel extremely embarrassed and furious. In Yanfeng's view, Wei Hong did not take him seriously at all by doing such a thing, and even threw his face to the ground and trampled it hard. How could Yanfeng not be furious? It's rebellious, Good, he is really brave, I want to see if he dares to really quit. Yanfeng sneered in anger, his eyes flashed with cold light from time to time, and his face was like frost, which looked extremely ugly. Obviously, he has completely resented Wei Hong. For someone like Wei Hong who made him lose face, he would never tolerate it again. With a spiritual contract in hand, he was not afraid that Wei Hong would not obey. Very good, it's better not to come back and beg me, otherwise it would be a light punishment for him to kneel outside the workshop for 3 days and 3 nights. Yanfeng secretly swore in his heart. Then he turned his head and glared at the other talisman masters, and then he left with a look of anger, not giving others a chance to speak. I don't know if he was worried that staying here would be more embarrassing. It was not until Yan Feng left the kitchen that the more than 20 talisman masters in the kitchen burst into an uproar like a pot of boiling water. Quit it? Wei Hong really said he would quit. No way, no way? Why is he so tough? Who gave him the courage? No, what right does he have? How dare he quit? Haha, today I really opened my eyes. I didn't expect that there are really such stupid people. More than 20 talisman masters were in an uproar in an instant, and all kinds of remarks jumped out. Zhu Ziqiang exclaimed with admiration, "Good boy, we have been complaining here for so long without hearing Wei Hong say anything, but we didn't expect him to hit us hard and hit our manager in the face. He is really amazing." Haha, that's right. Tao Han on the side also praised, Wei Hong is still a man of character. He is not spoiled at all. He dares to leave immediately if he says he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to suffer any grievances. He is really amazing. It seems that he is talking about character, but in fact, Tao Han is saying that Wei Hong has a temper. But it is true. If he didn't have a temper, how could he dare to tear his face with a manager in person? And Wei Hong did what they always wanted to do but didn't dare to do. This is the real reason why Tao Han admires him. Although they have been complaining and even cursing just now, if they really want to walk away like Wei Hong and say they don't want to do it in front of the manager, they really can't do it. It should be said that they don't dare to do it at all. As expected, some people praise and some people ridicule. A talisman master named Lu Renming suddenly sneered with disdain. Awesome? Haha, I think he's stupid. He quit his job as a talisman master and insisted on being the first to do something wrong. Isn't this stupid? Originally, complaining a few words is nothing. Everyone complains, but he just quits. Isn't he playing with his life and future? What a character. I think he's so stupid. Obviously, Lu Renming couldn't stand Wei Hong's seemingly straightforward but actually stupid behavior. That's right, in Lu Renming's opinion, Wei Hong's behavior just now was clearly seemingly straightforward but actually stupid. Especially when he saw the cold face of the steward Yan Feng just now, Lu Renming knew that Wei Hong would definitely not have a good ending. So Lu Renming was very pessimistic about Wei Hong's behavior of not doing it if he said he would not do it. However, Zhu Ziqiang said sarcastically, "Stupid? If they say you don't do it, you are stupid? Then what are you? You only dare to complain secretly, and you still dare not say a word in front of the manager. Friend Wei is stupid because he dares to fight? Then you don't even have the qualifications to be stupid, you are just a coward." Zhu Ziqiang lost his usual amiability and pointed at Lu Renming and cursed him without any hesitation. Lu Renming didn't expect Zhu Ziqiang to openly target him because of Wei Hong, and he was a little confused for a while. After reacting, Lu Renming shouted angrily, "I am a coward? Well, you just wait and see, when will Wei Hong kneel down and beg for mercy from Manager Yan, then we will see who is the coward." Hearing this, Zhu Ziqiang and others couldn't help but fall silent. Because they all knew that all talisman painters had signed a spiritual contract with a talisman workshop. Everyone who has signed a spiritual contract knows that anyone who does not abide by the contract will be cursed. The cursed person will suffer bad luck and lifespan, or even death. It can be said that the existence of the spiritual contract completely bound Wei Hong to death, which is why Lu Renming dared to say so. Zhu Ziqiang and others did not refute it because of this reason. They did not believe that Wei Hong really dared not to come to work. No one would joke about their own life and future. Once cursed, their future would be ruined. For a while, the talisman masters in the kitchen fell silent again. Then, before they could continue to work, it was said that their steward Yan Feng directly said that if Wei Hong did not come back to work within 3 days, he would burn the spiritual contract and let Wei Hong be completely finished. After this, everyone knew that Wei Hong would definitely not be able to bear it. The only way to save his life was to bow to the steward, accept the punishment honestly, and then come back to work. This was the unanimous opinion of everyone. Chapter 424 Cursed Air. Wei Hong knew nothing about what happened in the kitchen after he left. In fact, even if he knew, he would not care at all, because he has always been like this. He doesn't care no matter how others talk about him behind his back, as long as it doesn't affect his interests. What's more, what does it have to do with him what others think of him? Maybe that old guy Yan Feng thought I would go back and beg him. When he thought of this, Wei Hong couldn't help but sneer secretly. Although he didn't know what happened after he left, he could still guess some of the reactions of others. Even Yan Feng might still be waiting for him to go back and beg for mercy, but how could Wei Hong let him do so? Since he has decided to leave, he will never look back. Compared with losing a job, his life is obviously more important. He dare not stay in the talisman workshop any longer, where something might happen at any time. After leaving the talisman workshop, Wei Hong changed his appearance again and returned to the independent courtyard number 30. But this time, before he started practicing, he suddenly felt uneasy. This feeling of uneasiness was so strong that it seemed to directly envelope Wei Hong's whole body. Huh? What's going on? Wei Hong's face changed slightly, and he hurriedly sat down cross-legged. Why do I feel uneasy? Is there something wrong with me? He began to check his body, but found that there seemed to be nothing wrong. The feeling of uneasiness came too suddenly and strangely, leaving Wei Hong unprepared. It's not a problem with my body. Is there any danger coming? Wei Hong frowned, thinking about it but still couldn't figure it out. He thought about it and decided to practice for a while to see if it would be the same after entering into a state of concentration. So he sat cross-legged and took a posture, and began to slowly practice King Muju. There were no problems when practicing at the beginning, which made Wei Hong's originally tense mind begin to relax a little. But not long after, he suddenly felt a trance, as if his attention was distracted by something, and even made him stunned for a moment, so that the route of the exercise was almost deviated. No. Wei Hong shuddered instantly, and he woke up immediately. He murmured with a grim expression, "Something is wrong, there must be something wrong, otherwise it wouldn't be like this. I never had a trance when practicing before." You know, if his mind was dazed for a while, maybe the root of the technique would really go astray, and that would be a lot of fun. Once the root of the technique really went astray, Wei Hong would at least end up with a minor injury. But he had never encountered such a problem in his practice for so long, and today was the first time. Wei Hong didn't dare to continue practicing, because at this time, the uneasiness in his heart began to get heavier and heavier. How could this happen? Did I leave the talisman workshop? It shouldn't be like this. Where does this uneasiness come from? The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong, but he had no clue. Talisman workshop. When Wei Hong muttered the words talisman workshop, a light suddenly flashed in his mind. Yes, talisman workshop. I have signed a spiritual contract with the talisman workshop. Although I have left the talisman workshop now, I have also violated the spiritual contract. Is it because of this reason? The side effects of violating the spiritual contract have begun to take effect. Wei Hong's eyes lit up, and he felt that he should have found the right direction. He did not cancel the spiritual contract with the talisman workshop. Now he unilaterally left, which was naturally considered a violation of the contract, so this should be the backlash caused by violating the spiritual contract. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more he felt that this must be the case, otherwise it would be impossible for him to have such an uneasy feeling. It is said that those who violate the spiritual contract will be entangled with bad luck at best, and will be possessed by demons at worst. I want to see if I have a layer of bad luck. Since he has thought of this reason, he naturally wants to find a way to verify it. So, Wei Hong opened his spiritual pupils and looked directly at himself. After just one look, he frowned deeply. Sure enough, there is a layer of black and gray air. Is this bad luck or something else? Wei Hong understood. Through his spiritual pupils, he saw a layer of black and gray air on himself. Now, he was finally sure that his previous restlessness was definitely due to violating the contract. Wei Hong did not expect that the contract he signed would actually backfire. No, I have to find out how serious the backlash of the spiritual contract is. Wei Hong's face was a little solemn, and he immediately prepared to go out. When he made the decision to leave the talisman workshop, he actually did not consider the issue of the spiritual contract. It was mainly because he did not know much about the spiritual contract and did not take it seriously before. Now that he found something wrong, he naturally had to understand it in detail before he could respond. So Wei Hong immediately went out for a while, and then hurriedly bought a book about the spiritual contract. He put aside everything on hand and began to carefully read the book. After reading all the contents about the spiritual contract, Wei Hong put down the book with a heavy face. He frowned and said to himself, the backlash of the spiritual contract is so severe. According to the records in this book, the layer of black and gray air wrapped around me now should be called the curse air. Anyone who violates the spiritual contract will be entangled by the curse air, and as time goes by, this curse air will become more and more dense, and the backlash of the spiritual contract will become more and more serious. It's okay to be entangled by bad luck, and the loss of lifespan is a minor thing, but it is easy to make people go crazy in the future. When Wei Hong thought of the effects of these backlashes, he felt a little uneasy. It was not until now that he finally knew how serious it was. It was careless. Wei Hong smiled bitterly and shook his head, saying, "But even if I had known that the backlash of violating the spiritual contract would be so serious, I would still find a way to leave the talisman workshop. Besides, this curse error may be unsolvable for others, but it is far less serious for me." Wei Hong just saw in that miscellaneous book that although violating the spiritual contract would be backlashed, this backlash was actually limited, and it was impossible for everyone to have the same effect. The stronger a person is, the more afraid he is of the backlash of the contract. On the contrary, for someone like him who is currently weak, the backlash he encounters will not be too strong. He is not afraid of bad luck, and he does not care about losing some lifespan. The most serious effect should be that he will go crazy and get injured. This is the best. If it doesn't work, I still have a chance to survive. After figuring out these problems, Wei Hong finally felt relieved. At the same time, he did not take the curse to heart, and continued to practice hard at home. Chapter 425, Storm. After leaving the talisman workshop, Wei Hong did not go out again except to buy necessary daily necessities. He was devoted to practicing hard in the small courtyard to avoid a storm that was about to break out. As long as he was low-key enough and tried not to appear in the market, no one would remember his existence, so that even if something happened, he would not be involved in it immediately. However, leaving the talisman workshop recklessly still had to bear a heavy price. From the second day, the backlash of violating the spiritual contract really followed one after another. Puff. Wei Hong's face turned pale, and a mouthful of blood spurted out without any warning. His eyes opened, but his eyes looked extremely calm. He just picked up a clean white cloth and gently wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Obviously, looking at Wei Hong's skilled movements and calm expression, it was clear that this was definitely not the first time. It comes again and again. It really makes people restless. Wei Hong looked a little helpless, but he had already started to get used to it. Since this morning, he has experienced the taste of backlash. As long as he practiced, at most 1 hour, at least half an hour, he would be injured and vomit blood at least once because of the confusion of spiritual power. At the beginning, Wei Hong was still a little angry and had not yet adapted, but after vomiting blood more and more times, he gradually became calm, just like just now, as if vomiting blood had become a very common thing. If it were other cultivators, they might have been terrified and dare not continue to practice, fearing that they would really go crazy and die. But Wei Hong was different. Instead, he became more and more courageous. He was not afraid of vomiting blood and getting injured, and he didn't take the curse aura to heart at all. He carefully observed through his spiritual pupils again and again and found that although he would be absent-minded or his spiritual power would be confused every time he practiced, causing him to be injured and vomit blood every time, but after vomiting blood again and again, the curse aura wrapped around him would be slightly weakened. The contents of the book are indeed correct. Although the cursed energy will bring serious backlash, each attack will consume a layer of cursed energy. As long as I can withstand it a few more times, the cursed energy may be completely consumed. Wei Hong's mind was as clear as a mirror. Although he kept vomiting blood, he really didn't take this backlash seriously. Vomiting blood and getting injured may have a great impact on other people, but it is not a threat to Wei Hong. He only needs to consume a few vitality points to completely heal such a small injury, which is why Wei Hong didn't take the backlash seriously. Moreover, watching the cursed energy being weakened again and again, he became more and more relaxed. Maybe it won't be long before I can completely wear out this layer of cursed energy. With this idea in mind, Wei Hong continued to practice fearlessly. 3 days later, the Talisman Workshop. Over the past 3 days, the atmosphere inside the Talisman Workshop has become more and more weird. On the first day, everyone was talking about Wei Hong's move to leave the Talisman Workshop. On the second day, almost everyone was speculating that Wei Hong should be back to beg Yamfeng for mercy. On the third day, Wei Hong was nowhere to be seen. Everyone was talking about it again, saying all kinds of things, especially many people began to admire Wei Hong. On this day, many people in the Talisman Workshop could not help but look at Yamfeng with a strange look. Hey, I didn't expect that Brother Wei would really quit when he said he would, and he is not afraid of the backlash of the spiritual contract at all. That's right, otherwise how can you say he has character? His temper is really hard. Haha, you didn't see the expression on Manager Yan's face just now. It was so wonderful. There's no need to look, you can imagine it. Brother Wei is like a slap in the face of Manager Yan. It would be strange if he can have a good face. Many people began to laugh at the joke, and they all wanted to see how Yan Feng would react. Because Yan Feng had said before that if Wei Hong didn't come back to work for 3 days, he would burn his spiritual contract. Now it seems that burning the spirit contract is not the point at all. The point is that Wei Hong has not set foot in the talisman workshop for 3 days. This means that he has completely ignored Yan Feng's words, which naturally makes Yan Feng a laughingstock among everyone. Yan Feng seems to know that his dignity has been completely lost this time. He doesn't know how many cups he has broken in 3 days. Today is the 4th day. Yan Feng was waiting in the talisman workshop with a sullen face early in the morning. Everyone was silent from the first sight of Yan Feng after arriving at the talisman workshop. No one dared to speak, and they didn't dare to breathe loudly. Because Yan Feng's face was so dark that he seemed to want to kill someone. Good, very good, you don't even care about the spirit contract, you are really tough. Yan Feng was so angry that he almost bit his teeth when he didn't see Wei Hong show up. When most people came, he glanced at everyone with a cold face. The 3-day deadline has come. Wei Hong violated the contract without authorization and regarded our talisman workshop as nothing. Today, I will fulfill his wish and let him leave the talisman workshop completely. Yan Feng's words were like a gust of cold wind, which made everyone jump suddenly. As soon as he finished speaking, Yan Feng took out a spiritual contract. He rubbed his fingers lightly, and a flame emerged from his fingertips. Then he did not hesitate to put the spiritual contract in his hand directly above the flame, and the flame lightly made the entire contract burn instantly. After a moment, the ashes fell. Yan Feng looked at everyone with a stern and angry look. I hope you can all learn from this. If anyone wants to leave the talisman workshop, I can fulfill his wish immediately. Humph. Seeing that no one dared to say anything, Yan Feng snorted coldly and immediately left. Although he did burn Wei Hong's spiritual contract in public, he still felt very embarrassed. Because Wei Hong didn't take him seriously at all, he was not afraid even if the spiritual contract was burned. This out-of-control situation made Yan Feng feel more embarrassed than the last time, and he felt that he was humiliated by Wei Hong twice. Burning the spiritual contract was Yan Feng's last resort to save face. Even if it didn't work, he had to do it, and he had to do it in front of everyone, so that others would not dare to do the same as Wei Hong. Humph, the spiritual contract was burned. I want to see if you can save your life. With such a malicious revengeful thought, Yan Feng left the talisman workshop directly. Just after Yan Feng left, many talisman painters and skinners dared to speak. It's over. Wei Daoyao's spiritual contract was really burned by Yan Guanxi. Alice, it's tough, but I don't know if Wei Daoyao can hold on now. That's the path he chose himself. What's the use of us saying more? Many people seem to have guessed Wei Hong's fate, but this time they just had a few simple discussions and then dispersed. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.